Welcome to Book Club The Yappening, a podcast where we discuss every and all things we've read and some of us haven't read, in a safe place where we can yap about life in general. In the description, you'll find links to our Fable, Instagram, and Discord accounts. Please follow for more yapping in different styles. For a warning, we will 100% be spoiling this book, so please pause, go read, and come back to yap. Read the trigger warnings before continuing on. Welcome back to the Yappening. We're finally back.
I know,
video
yeah.
person.
Back in the studio.
Go.
Yeah, no. Power's back on. House is operating.
Yeah.
Video back.
Yeah.
Furnace, AC.
Our furnace broke yesterday, but Nick fixed it because he's the hero of the story.
Because I know how to look up YouTube videos.
He sure do.
The furnace went yesterday?
Yeah, I'm like, it's fucking freezing in here. I'm like, it's 63 degrees, but the thermostat is set to 66. Something's not working. And the furnace kept turning on for like 5 minutes and then shutting back off, but air wasn't coming through the vents. And I'm like,
Uh-oh.
God damn it. But no, Nick, he got in there.
Yeah,
Oh.
one of the lines was like kind of clogged, and so I just took the tube and blew it out, and then took a little pin,
That's what happened to us.
shoved it in a hole, and cleared the way, and then everything lit back
That's
up.
why the maintenance guy had to come out.
Go good. So good at
I am the maintenance guy.
cleaning the way.
Yo, you guys want to know that the maintenance guy that came out? So he went to go turn on the air, because the hour that we were chatting, he wasn't even running the AC. Keely had to inform me that he didn't even flip the breaker. So I'm like,
the way I would murder somebody.
I'm like, the way I endured that hour.
For nothing.
Nothing.
What the hell?
Yeah.
God, that would make me so mad.
Yeah, the AC's not working. It's getting so hot in here. I gotta take my shirt off.
Yeah, like, is that what he was, like, waiting for? Like, I'm so confused. But yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
Anyways, yeah, we're back to the Yappening. We're here in person. Nick, what's your pin for today?
What's the pin of the day, bud?
What's the pin of the day, bud?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Why don't you get up there? Get up
your
there.
tits out.
Yeah, get your tits out. Show them your titties.
Kids are staining.
Yow, yow.
Pin of the day.
He's got a
Got silly gay goose, because it's Pride Month.
happy pride.
And don't be trash, transphobic, racist, ableist, sexist, homophobic.
Don't be any of the things.
Don't
Oh,
be-
yo!
What did
No,
you do?
if you're transphobic, racist, sexist.
I know. He just, like, very much was like, take my bird.
Oh, yeah, no. The world is
You're a
already
goose.
so hateful
goose.
that why do we gotta hate on people loving themselves and loving others?
Yeah.
Let's be so real with that.
Be loud and be loud with your love in June, babies. Be
Yes.
loud.
Be loud with your love all of the time.
Actually, yeah, all the time. Not just June, but really shove it in their
Unless
face in
you're
June.
in a hotel. And then
Oh, yeah.
be-
Then...
be reasonable with your love.
Oh, no, scream it out. You pay those hotel prices. You let them know.
In the building. Ay.
It doesn't hurt to ask, hey, you got a gay discount? No? Okay, well, I'm going to tell the internet about you.
That's homophobic, honestly, especially during Pride.
Yeah.
Oh, we get to do the Pride Fair that you guys want to do, so let me know when that is.
Yeah. Ferndale Pride is usually where we try to go. That's usually like the first weekend of June, so that would be.
I'm going to try drinking there.
It's
So-
1 week from now.
Yeah, it's next Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
should work, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because I think we're
Some more
doing birthday
pins.
stuff the following weekend. So I'll
Okay, cool.
confirm, so we should be good.
Yeah, nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's nice. I'm excited to eat some pretzels. I'm excited. They have like
They have pretzels?
yeah, the best pretzels you've ever goddamn had in your whole life.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, I can make bracelets for it and hand them out. Yeah. Because I want to make bracelets like
I
the
love that.
bracelets I got.
We probably still got some from last year.
Oh, hell
I'm
yeah.
sure we do. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Oh, yeah, it's story time. Brittney's
All right.
story time.
So we are finally coming back to the Book of the Unnamed series, which is the Road to Nowhere trilogy. So
Not the Cornetto trilogy.
not that trilogy. You know. But anyways, so this one is the Book of Etta, which is the sequel. Although I will say these next two books, Book of Etta and Book of Flora, feel like a duology, with the Book of the Unnamed being a prequel to them, because these two are set like 100 years in the future from the first one we read. So,
Okay, so new main characters.
yes.
Oh, I like that.
Whoa.
Phone fell.
Not the phone.
R.I.P. Okay, so we are starting with the Book of Etta by Meg Elison. This is, as mentioned, the sequel to the Book of the Unnamed, which we know was incredibly violent, especially regarding women. So, of course, I will obviously skip over as much detail as I can without fully detracting from the plot of the book itself. But there's definitely some dark shit, so please, please, please check trigger warnings. Basically, if I'm hosting an episode, check trigger warnings always, and especially for my episodes, because I'm the most dark-sided of us all. But yeah, okay, so let's see. Our main character also has a bit of an identity evolution throughout the book, with the majority of the book being more or less like gender fluid type of moment. This identity does eventually evolve as they kind of get to fully understand their identity, but I'll refer to the name and pronouns being used at that time in the book. So I will change between Etta, she, her, and Eddie, he, him. Before we jump into it, I have to say that one of the things that I really did enjoy about this book is it kind of gives like Fallout vibes, in that there's like these little pockets of like societies that are so vastly different from each other. And then there's also for the most part, the old world names of places have more or less been forgotten or like misremembered. So like New York is New Yak, like Niya. Like it's like mispronunciations basically of like city names, which is like kind of fun trying to guess where specifically they're talking
Isn't
about
that
with some
because,
of these.
like you said before, like when the signs are left over from it. So like,
Yeah, some of them, yeah, for
so
sure.
they're scratched up and stuff.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I love.
Like Novak was based off of No Vacancy.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. We get less of it in this book, a lot more of it in the next one. But I just generally prefer the next one a lot more, but it's because I love Flora so much compared to Etta / Eddie.
Or even in Fallout Equestria, the company Starbucked
Yes.
became Arbu.
Yes.
Yeah, go listen to Fallout Equestria for more post-apocalyptia.
Although I would say that Arbu is probably closer to Caribou, right?
No, because
No, you're right. I am
Aribu or
I
Aribo.
I am understanding what you're saying, like just the. Okay, cool.
No, that's a clever idea all around.
Yeah, for sure. And I like it. And also, just considering how huge the US is, it does make sense that like different sections would be so vastly different, right? Because even now, I mean, you go from like one state to another and the cultures can sometimes vary fucking wildly, you know, especially between like the Midwest and down south, and then like out west, like California, the Pacific Northwest.
And so many places are not even like originally English or American words. So what was the one that came to mind? Ypsilanti. Someone 100 years from now, like there's no civilization for like 100 years, someone sees that and they know the English language and they're trying to like pronounce it. Or
Right.
if something was missing from it, it could be just, oh, here's a Wipesy. I don't like that. Or Elanti.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in Michigan, and I'm sure every state is like this to some extent, but I know Michigan, there's a lot of like Germanic and French. Like Detroit is meant to be a French word that is just mispronounced from how it was originally named.
New Orleans becomes Oral. Oral, O-R-L, not oral.
Sure.
Oral.
Yeah, love that. Okay, anyways, let's see.
You want to start beatbox?
Please beatbox.
Yeah, I found
Oh God, no!
I found out that the little Spanish flea is definitely copywritten, so I'm going to need to cut and paste my beatbox.
You know what? It's great because you beatbox all the time, so you have plenty of clips to choose from for that.
It was my stem before I knew like what a stem was. Just.
Yes, thank you. I'll make sure that I scroll away from where I am so you can have a nice little beatbox break. Okay, so let's see. Okay, just kind of moving on here. Picture it, post-apocalyptic US, approximately 2134. We open with Eddie telling us that all roads lead to SDL. He hates this. Growing up, Eddie would ask his mother why SDL wasn't the state capital of the old world. SDL had been a huge city with tall buildings and a very giant metal arch. Mother Ina would simply tell him that it's not, she didn't know how it worked, or it didn't necessarily work that way, but she didn't really understand how like capitals were like formed, and basically like I can't explain it to you, but it also is a moot point. It doesn't matter. That was like over 100 years ago, basically.
Who cares about history? We're not doomed to repeat it.
Right, exactly. So Eddie thinks of the silver arch sitting against the black sky. When he starts to think of this, he begins to smell smoke. He's not sure how a simple memory can make him feel so sick. He feels like he's running from somewhere that he's not even physically at. This is going to be very consistent throughout the book. Lots and lots of panic attacks for our fella here. But we'll kind of divulge and dive into what's kind of going on there. But he's a few days walk from the city. The map he has all of the old world names scratched out. But there's a red star marking SDL, which is labeled STL. The map Eddie has is marked with symbols from his fellow raiders. Any guesses on where SDL is?
I'm just guessing, like, when you say, like, SDL, it's like ESDIEL.
So SDL is spelled ESTIEL.
Okay, it sounds very much like a D, but Seattle is where I was thinking.
No, STL, St. Louis. Look up St. Louis. It has a huge...
Okay, yeah, I guess, I don't know. STL, maybe I'm thinking of, airport codes?
Maybe, I don't know. But SDL has, like, a huge metal, like, arch in it. Or St. Louis.
Yeah. I you know what? You said silver arches, and for some reason I picture like McDonald's, which I know I realize are golden arches, but the way it's like kind of revered, or like in post-apocalyptia, I could see someone being like, "Why isn't that the capital?"
Right. Oh, for sure.
I can see someone saying a McDonald's and being like, I think this is their old religion.
Yes.
Their church, like, because they're
Yeah.
everywhere, and then like, yeah.
Or even like Disney World, like they have a castle.
Yeah, Disney World, like this must have been like a royals.
Yes.
You're scavenging people's homes and you just find like mouse ears, pictures of a mouse, and it's like this must have been their god.
I want to write a short story.
I love that. I saw it was a TikTok, like kind of if you were buried with your favorite book and you were dug up like centuries later, what religion would they think you practice based on the book that you were buried with? So like you're buried with your favorite book, but civilizations years from now unbury you and they're like, oh, they were buried with this book, this must have been their like religion.
Can you imagine me buried with Cut and Run?
Right. Right. Yes.
So many Harry Potters, so many Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So many.
Can you imagine people finding Harry Potter like magic was real? Like people used to be able to produce magic out of their
maybe not now, but at a time like the world ended and so many people are buried with Twilight.
There were vampires. People used to drink blood.
Yeah.
Our Lord in Heaven, Edward.
Edward be thy name.
Edward be thy name.
Edward Shining Collins.
Yes.
The man who twinkles.
May you shimmer.
Shimmer.
Yes. Shimmers upon thee.
Twinkle on. Twinkle on.
Twinkle on.
Twinkle out, Starboy. All right. So anyways, there are markings on the map. They are, the different symbols identify different things, like how herds move through areas in different seasons, where there are dangerous collapsing buildings, towns that aren't open to people of color, towns that trade in slavery. Growing up, Eddie was always very fascinated by maps. The different symbols and markings confirmed to Eddie that the world beyond nowhere was very different and full of different people. He couldn't wait to grow up to eventually become a raider. This is more so of like a scavenger type role rather than like how we would picture raiders as like fans of Fallout.
I'm glad you you detailed that, because I was like, damn, who just wants to go fuck up people's day?
Yeah, no, so raiding is not inherently bad. Basically, like, you're raiding old world buildings to find different things. So it's definitely more scavengy.
Yes.
And then let's see, the way all lines met in SDL made it feel like it was an angry mouth. Eddie is about 40 miles south of SDL when he is approached by an elderly couple. They would like to sell him what they claim to be the last little girl on Earth. Eddie entertains this. He offers the couple 2 vials of what he calls a painkiller, and he offers them 2 throwing knives for the girl. The elderly man asks to try the painkiller first, concerned that Eddie's lying and that it's perhaps water or something. Eddie allows this. However, after a few drops hit the man's mouth, he drops dead. The woman very quickly makes a break for it. Eddie lets her run because he knows that an old woman with nothing but a knife isn't going to last very long in this world anyways.
He didn't lie. His pain's gone.
Right. And so we will come to find out that it's opium, basically, is what he has, because one of Nowhere's like biggest trade items is like medication, whether that's like for mosquito bites, toothaches, or all the way up to opium, so that you can set a bone and things like that without,
heavy stuff that's
Yes.
natural.
Yes.
Yeah, charge double for it and call it hopium.
Right, exactly. Well, they call it some. I'm not sure why. SOM. I'm not sure why, but it will later be identified as opium, and we know that it's made from poppies, so that's more or less what we can deduce there. Anyways, so
I'll look that up when I pick up my phone.
Huh?
I'm gonna look that up when I pick up my phone because I'm curious.
That's fine. Eddie doesn't try to speak or touch this little girl. Instead, he sits down and he opens his canteen. He places it near the girl. He moves back from the canteen, and the girl quickly grabs it up and chugs the water. Eddie smiles at her before returning to plucking and cooking the birds that he had hunted. The smell of the cooked birds slowly draws the little girl closer to him. He tells the girl that his name is Eddie. He tells her that he would like to know her name, but that he's happy to share his food even if she doesn't want to talk to him. She tells him that her name is Chloe. She reaches over and she grabs up a piece of the meat and quickly devours it. Eddie's glad that he found Chloe because she's the perfect excuse for him to avoid going to SDL right now, as he is going to bring her back to his village, basically. So he tells the people of Nowhere that he goes to SDL to raid the city every single summer. The truth is, though, he hasn't been there since he was like 16, 17, and he was very new to raiding. It was basically his second season out. Raiding was the last time that he was in SDL. So Eddie's first solo raid was at 15. He went into the heart of SDL. He came home with things that were rare and irreplaceable. Very specifically, he found an old world woman's clinic. So he was able to find moon cups to bring back to the women of Nowhere, and other types of products like that, which, considering the fact that they basically just had scraps of fabric that they were using for menstrual products, finding like the moon cups and things like that would be reusable is like incredibly valuable for them. And then let's see. So while at the clinic, Eddie notices a medical chair with rusty stirrups, and he thinks to himself that it looks like a torture device. The spring of his 16th year, he heads out and he returns at the end of he was ready to return at the end of summer with more treasures that he was going to find, going back into the heart of SDL. However, he returned to Nowhere in the dead of winter with nothing but his gun. He had lost everything. He was malnourished, his head was shaved, and he didn't speak for 3 months after returning. When he finally did speak, he told his people that he had gotten lost, and that's why it took him so long to get back. The following summer, he had left Nowhere, and while he did travel the same roads, he didn't go into SDL, he just raided nearby towns. But he was able to find a lot of items that basically had him labeled as a hero, with a reputation of his people. He also has a reputation of saving girls and women. He very, very heavily idolizes the unnamed, to a point where he kind of is unable to see the forest for the trees, in regards to who the unnamed was and what she actually did.
I have a question. So you know how in the unnamed midwife, the like women who got pregnant could possibly die from it or whatever? Is that still presently happening? Okay.
Yeah, that's still what's happening. It does seem that if a woman is going to birth a son, she more often survives, even if she does come down with the fever that tends to kill the women. Normally, if they have a boy, they're able to recover from the fever, but only 1 in 4 girls make it, basically, and the mother survives the birth process. Nick? You seem like you had a question, or you were cooking up a question.
I'm trying to remember like 5th grade science, because I'm sure it's not explained. It's just like, here's an event that happened, and we as the society that survived it, we don't know the science behind it. This is not like from a third person or omniscient perspective, but just me thinking that like it could be related to the X chromosome, because like women have 2 X's, they're more likely to die. Men have XY, so like they're a little more likely to survive. That's just, total fan theory from someone who has not read the book, and again, 5th grade science.
Yeah, so it seems like the increased sort of mortality rate regarding births is that either the woman gets a fever and her and the baby end up succumbing to said fever, or there's an issue with them bleeding out once their placenta detaches, and it seems like there's a higher rate of that happening when they're birthing girls. Again, don't necessarily know the reason, but those seem to be the 2 main causes of the highly increased mortality rate. But it also still makes, obviously, women incredibly rare, because not only were many of them killed to begin with, but most births involving a female don't end up making it anyways. So we're still kind of living in the scarcity of the female population.
Yeah, if I remember the ending of Unnamed, I don't know, I think I just listened to like the last few minutes for like maybe the outro, because I'm doing like compilations and stuff. Like they had the first successful birth, and then from that point on, it never became like utterly successful, but things became better,
manageable. Yeah. But it was to the point where basically nowhere has a rule where you can either be a midwife or you can be a mother, but they can't risk losing their midwives in childbirth themselves. So it's like, if this is the path you choose, then you don't get to be a mother, because we need you, basically. Like, your knowledge and skills are incredibly valuable, type of thing. Which is also going to kind of come into play for Etta, because it seems like there's sort of traditional gifts that you receive once you have your first period, basically. It's very celebrated, and either you can receive books, which would typically incline that you're likely to become a midwife, type of thing, or you can receive like a couple other gifts. Etta does not receive any of the traditional gifts, which we'll like get to, but there are sort of traditional gifts of like what path your mother thinks that you'll likely go down. Like, if you're incredibly smart and well read, then normally you'll be gifted with a book, or I don't know what else.
I'm kind of picturing like a second gender reveal, where you like, pop a balloon or like reach inside a cake and either pull out a book or like, yeah, we just took a little break. I got my phone back, and it turns out STL is the airport code for is St. Louis, and Seattle is SEA. And we were just talking about how like some places it's kind of obvious what the places would be, like NYC,
NOLA.
Yeah. And then I was saying that for the longest time, because I am not a basketball/sports fan, every time someone would mention OKC, I thought it meant OkCupid.
Yes.
Because I grew up in the era of OKC meant OkCupid, because that's where you would meet people.
Elderly
people on OkCupid?
You're elderly.
I mean, I am.
Yeah, I know.
I am too.
Same. I mean, you're the youngest of us amongst us.
So elderly.
Yeah.
I thought I had another thought, but
Okay. Wheel. All right. So let's see. All right. So go on.
oh, I was just gonna say that I made the joke that because places are renamed, Florida is now called Florida.
Yep.
Florida. Oh my god.
I mean, it's still Florida. They just dropped the I for whatever reason. Also, Florida is just so. In the next book, they do go to Florida, and goddamn, the swamp people are just fucking crazy. And it's like, of course the Floridians, like, because Florida has like such a reputation presently for having like absolutely wild citizens. Like Florida man. So it real holds strong.
Do you know why that is? Like why Florida Man became a thing?
No.
Even if you said yes, I was going to explain it for the viewers. Florida was the first state to publicly release arrest records. So, like crazy things happened in other states, Florida was the first one that would release like man fights trash can, loses, or raccoon found working a successful Wendy's drive-through before any other state. So that's why we got those headlines. It was always out of Florida before other states were kind of like, I'm sure it's not for like publicity reasons, but like maybe like a shaming thing, or even we need to stay in the limelight even if it's not due to good reason. I'm sure there's a better reason that I don't know, but Florida was the first state to do it.
Okay. Hot fact. Love that. All right.
I think that was also around the time that like the guy who took bath salts and ate someone's face. It was around that time too.
Yes, I do remember that. And then there's like the crocodile or whatever the hell.
Crocodile?
I don't know.
No,
I'm not.
That's.
I'm a stoner. I'm not that kind of.
No, but that's like one of those. Oh, you're taking me back there.
Yeah, you're taking me back there. All right, so Chloe is the first girl that Eddie's been able to rescue this year. He felt that finding a girl so quickly in the season is a very good omen. He returns home with Chloe. He hopes that she's going to be happy in nowhere. As they approach the gate, the guard asks him to identify himself, and he announces himself to be Etta, daughter of Ina. Chloe nestles herself closer to Etta and asks if Etta's going to take her home. Etta tells the girl that she's going to be taken to see the midwife. Once Etta gets inside and hands Chloe off to the midwife and explains, like, she's going to examine you, but she's not going to do anything you don't want her to do. Like, if you're uncomfortable, just let her know type of thing. Etta goes over to the bathhouse to get clean. And then she goes to visit the Shrine of the Unnamed.
So at this point, Etta is identifying differently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, and it'll definitely get confusing, especially at the end of the book, but Etta has, following after the Unnamed, decided to travel on the road as a man, named Eddie, to keep themselves safe.
Got it. Okay. Okay, check.
As the book is going to unfold, we are going to understand that Etta is actually just a trans man, but there's not really language for that. It's not really known that is a thing. So
because that's what happens when you burn books.
Exactly. But also they haven't necessarily fully unpacked that is, and there's like a lot of trauma going on. And then there's just sort of this thing of like, who's the ghost? Is Etta the ghost, or is Eddie the ghost? Like, was Eddie born out of trauma? Was Eddie always there? Has Etta been the like false identity? That type of thing kind of unfolding. And then there will just sort of be a section at the end where it's basically Etta does this thing and then Eddie does this thing, where we're kind of almost seeing them fully understand and like marry the two identities together type of thing.
Okay, so like she leaves her sanctuary of nowhere, and there's suddenly Eddie, man about town, scavenging, surviving, rescuing girls, and back inside town, Etta, she, her. Yeah,
so Eddie is on the road, Etta is at home, basically, more or less.
And you said at the end they become a trans man, so... Or they accept themselves, but that's how they would identify if the language existed.
Yeah. So in Book of Flora, Eddie is fully Eddie all the time. I want to say that at some point, he grows a beard, but I'm not certain if that's a thing. But I know that there are sort of, like, we'll learn Flora, has a different identity as well. And there's, like, different, like, hormonal treatments, like, holistic hormonal treatments, I guess, kind of come into play to, like, help people transition in a way that they want to transition type of thing.
Whatever the opposite of just take a whole bunch of soy, like every single day, several pounds of soy.
Yeah.
Whatever the opposite.
Anti-soy
Oh,
boy.
it's like peppermint. So I'm a PCOS girly, so I do grow a beard and a mustache kind of aggressively.
Yeah.
So peppermint, it's not like a full thing, but peppermint does help reduce growth a little bit. So like, and reduce the testosterone. So.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is a holistic
Makes
treatment for the testosterone.
It's similar to the like opium being used like actually
Mhm.
medicinally, natural remedies because the pharmaceuticals aren't there anymore.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Okay, so bathhouse, Etta then goes to the Shrine of the Unnamed. Etta admires her, as her ability to survive and her ability, to basically become whatever she needs to in order to survive. We are, as mentioned, going to learn that Etta has a lot of really incorrect takeaways from the Book of the Unnamed. It's someone that she very heavily idolizes, although Etta has a very idealized picture of who the Unnamed is. It's almost like Etta has kind of projected what she wants to be and how she views like altruism like onto the Unnamed without actually fully understanding the lessons that she should have been taking away from the Book of the Unnamed, type of thing. But we'll definitely get deeper into that. While Etta's at the shrine, Mother Ina comes and finds her. Etta has a very tense relationship with her mother. This seems to honestly stem from Etta feeling the burden of expectations, though it doesn't necessarily seem like Etta's picture of like her relationship with her mother is like fully correct, because it seems like Etta thinks her mother wants her to be something that she can't be and she doesn't want to be. And while it does feel like Ina has sort of a picture of how she wants her daughter's future to go, it, in my opinion, especially rereading this, it feels like Ina knows who her daughter is and she's fine with that. So it's like, would I love you to be a mother? Yes. Do I know that that's not your path? Also, yes. Like that seems to be more so how Ina interacts with Etta, but Etta, it feels like Etta just carries this weight of expectations around with her, and she just heavily has a chip on her shoulder because of it, which I love Etta and Eddie, and like I fully see them, but also goddamn so frustrating. Like, it's just like I want to shake. I'm like, eh. Okay, so, okay. Etta ends up going home with her mother, and she has a meal with her. Etta is, her mom basically says that she wishes she would have kept Chloe, like you should have brought her home and had her as your daughter, and then you could have stayed home a little bit more type of thing. But Etta very specifically wants to, just be on the road. Like she wants to be a savior. She wants to follow in the unnamed footsteps. So let's see. She goes home with her mom. Ina wants her to settle down and have a hive of her own, even if she doesn't become like a birthing mother. But Etta only wants to be a raider, basically. So she has kind of a bit of an argument with her mom, and she storms out of the house. First, she goes to see Alice, who is kind of her friends with benefits type of situation. Alice is, she is a midwife, but she more so is a doctor and does the pharmaceutical side of things. For Alice, she doesn't feel like she can make a difference in sort of a birthing capacity, and that it doesn't matter what you do once a woman goes into labor, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and there's not a whole lot you can do to change the trajectory of things. If the woman ends up getting sick and dying, that's just how it's going to happen. But Alice feels like she can actually make a difference by making remedies for people and like setting broken bones. Like, so she's like, I prefer that side of medicine because I feel like I can actually do something to help people. Whereas the midwife side of things is just like, you just got to be there and hope for the best type of thing. So, but Alice is also kind of like polyamorous like type of thing. So her and Etta kind of have a tense relationship because Etta has a lot of jealousy, and Alice is just like, well, I don't want to be just yours, so you don't really get to stake a claim on me if I'm not consenting to that type of thing.
I love a good poly girl.
Yes. So Etta has an argument with Alice because Etta is just really bullheaded and hard to get along with. So after her argument with Alice, she ends up heading over to the guard station on duty. It's evening time now. She hangs out, she smokes a little weed, and then she asks one of the guards on duty, like, hey, since you're overnight, can I, like, go sleep in your bed, basically? And he's like, yeah, that's totally fine. When she gets into his bed, though, she thinks that it smells like him. It smells like a man, and she thinks to herself that the smell of men is the smell of danger. The next morning, Etta gathers up her supplies. She organizes her pack. Amongst her supplies is a gun that her mother had gifted her. Ina told Etta it was the gun of the unnamed. A gun, as mentioned, is not a traditional gift for a mother to give to her daughter. And while Ina had always wanted Etta to follow in her footsteps and become a mother, she, as mentioned, just sort of sees Etta for who she is. Like, she knew that Etta was going to have more value with receiving a gun than she was going to have with any other type of, like, life path type of thing.
Side note, question. So, like, this just keeps, like, viscerally coming up in the back of my head. What person would want their daughter to risk their life in childbirth? Because there's only two ways it can go.
Right.
And I just couldn't.
It is seen as, like, incredibly honorable, obviously.
Well, yeah, I figured, but
yeah,
like, who could ever just wish that upon a woman to have a child?
Right. And I obviously I fully see where you're coming from with that type of thing. But Ina also had a lot of losses. So, like, Etta is her one living child. And it was something that Ina had always wanted for herself, and she suffered a lot of heartbreak finally getting to have Etta type of thing. So I think part of it is also likely I want you to have the things that I didn't have type of thing, like that sort of mindset of, like, I wanted a big family, I want you to be able to have a big family type of thing. But again, you can have the ideal future you want for your children, but it does seem like Ina has made peace with that. That's just not Etta's path in life. So that type of thing. But Etta has, like, a lot of other stuff kind of going on, and while I don't think that Ina fully grasps what's happening, there is sort of an aspect of, like, being on the road takes a toll on Etta, and Ina sees that, and she's just like, I know that your path is not to be a mother, but, like, this isn't healthy for you either type of thing. So while she maybe doesn't fully grasp what is going on or why being on the road impacts Etta to this extent, she also knows, like, when you come home, you're always having nightmares, like, that type of thing. So she's just kind of like, I think you maybe need to think about another life path, like, even if it's becoming a midwife type of thing. So there's kind of that sort of tension as well.
She has her own ideals for her child. I was thinking kind of like how currently, like, just for a lot of women, like, that's the goal in life, is just, like, be a mother and have a family. But there are, like, so many paths to take. Obviously, in a world where, like, childbirth is very difficult, almost completely fatal, people are still going to have that mindset to, like, a more extreme degree. But she is at least trying to balance. It's her own life. She can do what she wants with it, but also just that motherly, what you're doing is really dangerous. Like, you don't have to follow my dreams, but please, like, take a step back from what you're doing. You're going to give me a heart attack.
And they do kind of have what I feel is, like, a really nice moment. But Etta leaves, comes back, and she wakes up in the night having, like, a horrible, like, Charlie horse in both of her calves, to the point where, like, she has, like, flung herself out of bed and landed on the floor. And Ina comes in and, like, is, like, helping her, like, massage the cramps out. And she's like, what are you eating on the road? You're not getting enough potassium. And Etta's taking this as, like, she's poking at a weakness of mine. But then Ina is like, tomorrow I'm going to make you this. I'm going to feed you that. Like, I'm going to give you a bunch of potassium rich foods, like planning out a menu for the next few days to, like, help Etta recover. And then Etta's like, oh, she's trying to help me. She's not poking at my weaknesses type of thing. But
do we know how old Etta is at this point?
She 7 plus 15-ish.
So 22
ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had the thought of, you know, when I mentioned like been there like growing pains during those teenage years. But then the mom just going, I'm gonna get you a bunch of potassium rich foods and we're gonna fix this, and just still having that teenage attitude of, God, Mom, stop caring so much.
Yeah, well,
thank you.
Also, just kind of the way Ina approached the conversation too is like, what are you eating out on the road? You're not getting enough potassium. And Ed is like, I'm eating what I can find. What do you mean? like there's not just bananas out here. Like, Mom, what the fuck are you talking about? But like, also as someone who has a mom who can be a little blunt, I definitely understand. And again, like I was talking to you, like just sometimes you just gotta assume people don't mean any harm, even if they're coming at you kind of crazy. Yeah. But I mean, I definitely have a little bit of the same where I can be a little harsh when I'm like communicating things to you as well. So like I do get where that's where Etta's coming from with that, and it was nice to kind of see Etta like understand like, oh, she's actually, this is coming from a place of I want to help you, not a place of like I'm criticizing you for not doing things correctly type of thing.
Oh, damn it, Mom, thank you for the banana, I love you.
Right, god damn it, Mom. So all right,
I want a banana.
Okay, before I love bananas so much, dude. So before leaving, Etta stops by the shrine again. She always stops by the shrine before she leaves for a raid. While she's at the shrine, she's greeted by her mother, the midwife, and Annie. Annie is Chloe's new mother. When Chloe sees Etta, she's incredibly excited, and she very like happily is like, Etta, this is my sister Beth, like I'm so excited. Yeah, so
my heart.
I know. So and Annie basically gives Etta a really big hug, and she like says thank you for bringing my daughter home type of thing, because Annie has had a child but she has not been able to have another child, so she is very thankful that she's able to expand her family in this way.
It was either bring them to you or take them back to Clan Kardashian.
Right, exactly. So Etta, when she's hugging Annie, she thinks to herself that the smell of women is the smell of home. So Eddie is out. He's heading towards the old capital, Jefferson City. On his travels, he hears music, and it's not something that he's heard before. It's not old world music, which is incredibly rare to hear. Obviously,
I was going to make a reference.
What?
You can still make a reference.
What's that off in the distance? Can you blow my whistle, baby, let me know. Good times. One of those oldies.
Right. But anyway,
Here we go.
Electricity generally is incredibly scarce. Like some places have it, but for the most part nobody has it. So if you're going to hear old world music, it's likely on a device that has been like absolutely on its last leg, and you are only going to hear a little bit of it.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. So it's super rare to hear music in general. But as Eddie's hearing this music, he thinks that the music's a good sign, right? Because people who are starving don't have time to make music. And he wonders if slavers make music, but then he decides in his experience, people tend not to be too many different things at once type of thing. So he openly approaches the town. As he's venturing into said town, he's trying to figure out the source of the music, but he begins seeing small homes, all of which have like gardens and window boxes. And he's like, okay, cool. This is another good sign, right? Because starving people and bad people don't tend to like cultivate beauty, right? So, okay, cool. This is good. They have well-made curtains. So like clearly there's people here working, there's tradesmen. So from one of the houses as he's walking through, he sees a woman and a little girl exit. He sees the woman and child are both incredibly clean, and they're very well dressed. They clearly have really good fabric makers here, because between the curtains and the clothing, they're also like wearing matching dresses, which is like super cute. They look well fed. And as they like exited the house, Eddie can tell that they're not like fearful, like they're not like scanning their surroundings, like clearly they feel safe in their home. So he's like, okay, this is a good sign.
It's giving Governor from.
See, I was thinking like culty vibes, just because they're wearing the same
thing.
But I'm sure like the dressmakers are kind of like limited in what they can make. So it's like, I can make the same thing with different colors, but in different sizes. But yeah,
I only know how the pattern of a skirt.
Right. So Eddie holds his hands up and calls out to them before like getting too close to them. He says, "I'm a traveler, I mean no harm." The woman very quickly picks the child up and is like looking at him like, the fuck. She does come nearer to him though, and he can see that her skin and teeth are very clean. So he introduces himself, thinking that this town must be doing pretty well. He says, "I'm Eddie, son of Ina." He tells them that he's from a town south of here. He is traveling looking for trade, and he wants to see if they do any trade there. This woman is starting to relax a little bit. She's a little less tense since he's not, outright being creepy and weird. So she introduces herself as Deborah and her daughter as Miles. She tells him that he's on the wrong side of town for trading. And he tells her that he's happy to just go speak with the men, basically. Like, I'm happy to not waste any of your time if you can just point me in the direction. I'm happy to go in and start trading. So she's like, cool, I'll take you over to the town center. But basically they have, like, the side of town where people are meant to enter through, and just by happenstance Eddie has like wandered into the back of the town, so where it's like not guarded. So that was another reason she was like, what the fuck, like, you're not supposed to be here, the gate's over there.
Sorry, I slipped in the back door.
Right. Hate when that happens.
Honest, though, because that means there's a weakness in the...
Well, yeah. So, all right, so as they are walking, Deborah asks what he brought to trade. He says he has books and goods from before times, basically. He explains that he's a raider, so he's really able to get just about anything. If they are happy to trade, he's happy to basically take orders and like see what he can find. And she asks if there's anything specifically he's looking for, and he says that he mostly looks for metals, information, and herbs and veggies that he doesn't grow back at home. And also says we're also really happy to take any tradesmen if they're ever willing to, like, looking to relocate. Like, we're definitely happy to have extra tradesmen. She asks if he's looking for women, and he tells her he only wants women who want to come with him or ones that are in need of rescue. And he's like, and I can tell, like, you guys are not in need of rescue, so, like, no, I'm not here to, like, steal women. Like, I'm not interested in that. She tells them that their main trade is cloth, that they spin and weave, and so he asks if he can touch the sleeve of her dress to just sort of feel the fabric, and she smiles at him and tells him, well, clearly you were raised right, and then lets him touch the fabric. He's like, you clearly have really good weavers. That's something we struggle with. Would it be okay if I, like, spoke to your, like, tradespeople who do the weaving and just kind of get any tips or tricks or, like, set up a trade type of thing? And so, let's see. They approach the town square. Eddie is taken aback because the town square is full of women. He is introduced to an elderly woman, Thea. She tells him that she can see he has some questions and that she isn't sure that she can necessarily answer all of them. And she asks if he's from SDL, and when he says no, she takes him into, like, a building so that they can have, he can talk with, like, the council people there. Eddie is brought into a room with, men and women. More or less, they're discussing city planning while he, enters the room. Things that Eddie is taking a note of is that there are lots of women and a fair amount of healthy children in the town. And that the town has people of diverse color. So he's, like, starting to feel more comfortable. And this is something that he's really good at doing, is just, like, generally observing the way people are interacting with each other and the way they interact with him to, like, determine if he is in a safe spot or if he's somewhere where he needs to be guarded, right? So, like, he notices how Deborah and Miles left the house. They didn't seem fearful. They didn't seem frightened. He notices, like, okay, cool, there's music coming from this town. I'm seeing black people here, type of thing. So, like, he's very good at observing and, like, kind of trying to determine if he needs to have his guard up with people or if he can let his guard down a little, type of thing.
If there are any, like, hidden rules just from observing.
He does that too, yeah. So he notices that when Deborah and Thea come up to each other, they grab both arms. But then when Thea goes to reach out to him, she just grabs one of his arms. And so he thinks to himself, like, okay, is that because I'm a stranger? Is that because I'm a man? Is 2 arms for 2 women, or is it just that they knew each other, type of thing? So he also tries to, like, figure out social niceties and, like, determine kind of what's going on there, because, again, everywhere's so different, right?
Cultures have completely shifted between small communities.
Yeah, and like nowhere the important part is like who your mother is, so that's why everybody is like name, son or daughter of name, being the mother's name.
I do love that.
Yeah, and then he finds another town later on where they ask who his father was. They're like, okay, Eddie who? Like, what's your last name? Who's your dad? And he's like, well, I don't know who my dad is. And they were like, oh, that's crazy. And it's like, it's because his mom out here, you know, like because of the hive situation, like you don't know who your dad is, but everybody in the hive is your dad type of thing, you know? So like, obviously you have one biological dad, but it's like a reverse harem situation. So you don't know who biologically is your father, but your mom has a household and all of the men in the household would be considered your dad.
You mentioned hive once before, and I think also in the original. Just a refresher on hive.
Yeah, so it's a reverse harem situation, basically. One woman with many husbands type of thing. But generally speaking, the husbands are very submissive to the wives. Like the husbands are there to take care of the children. They're there to take care of the house. They're there to bring like money and goods into the house. And she is there to lead the men, and she is there to be a mother type of thing. So like you come and work for me and I take care of you type of thing, and like you handle my household business and stuff. Like there's one point where like Etta ends up throwing up somewhere, and she goes and just sees one of the husbands, and she's like, there's a mess in there. And then he just okay, and he just goes and cleans it up type of thing. So
Love that.
yeah. Okay, so let's see. They're talking all right, Eddie's relieved to know that, like, okay, there's people of color here, so I don't need to be on guard about that. And then, let's see. Thea tells Eddie that they would like to ask some questions about where he's from. They understand that he doesn't want to give specifics about where they're located, but they still have questions all the same. Like, I know you're maybe not going to want to answer some stuff. I'm not trying to be invasive, but, like, whatever you can kind of... whatever information we're comfortable sharing with each other is good. So they invite Eddie to sit. They offer him some water. They ask how much education children receive where he's from. He explains that they attend school until they're able to read, write, and defend themselves. And then from there, the children are able to essentially pick a trade. So like men who really take to reading and writing tend to become scribes. And then women who take to reading and that tend to start training to become midwives or doctors, that sort of thing. And then Eddie explains that at 15 he became a raider, and he began training in the woods. They ask some more details about what raiders do, asking how, and then they also ask how Eddie's home governs. Eddie's answering the questions. He mentions the hive situation, because he mentions like, oh, we're run by a council of women who have male representatives that keep the peace. And they're like, do you have a hard time keeping the peace? And he's like, well, no, just if troublemakers come to town, or sometimes there's fights among hives. Not like just men in a hive fighting, not like fucking turf battle between two hives. And they're like, right. They're like, hive, excuse me. And so he gently explains that most places he's been to, don't have a very large population of women. So that's kind of how they cope, with that, is having, one woman and multiple men that basically, care for her household and stuff like that. After a pause, Thea tells Eddie that she understands, but they have plenty of women here. And Eddie says, yep, I can definitely see that. And then he very gently asks how they have so many women there. He doesn't want to scare them because he knows that that is a weird, intrusive question to be asking, especially considering that women are such a commodity in this. It's difficult to ask about children and women without people thinking that you're asking because you want to take from them type of thing. So he's just like really just trying to figure out what the hell's happening. They basically say like, we know you have your secrets that you don't want to share, and we don't necessarily want to share that about us. And he's like, cool, got it, understand. It's just unusual. I didn't mean any harm by asking. And then let's see. Eddie then kind of changes the conversation, letting them know that he's passing through, intending to move on to SDL. He explains that he hasn't been there in quite some time, but he's searching for something. He asks if they're able to tell him anything about SDL, considering how close that they live to the city. They very quickly tell him not to go there. One of the younger men pipes up telling Eddie that he came from SDL, and when he left, he had nothing and was basically almost dead. He was found and brought to Jeff City, which is the name of where they are. He meant to get much further away, but he didn't really have anything. And so this is just kind of where he landed. But he tells Eddie there's nothing good there, like, do not go there. He goes on to tell Eddie that he was born there. He never knew his mother, but he knew there had to be women because every year they would have a handful of new baby boys that would come and live with where he lived. He said that he was trained in electrical work, but that the city is fully lawless. He said that he was able to escape. He doesn't elaborate a ton. He does explain that he was held there with other boys, all smaller, more feminine boys. He tells Eddie that it isn't a place that you leave, it's somewhere that you have to escape. Eddie nods and says, I understand what you're alluding to. In other words, women and girls are not the only targets of assault in SDL. Women and girls are meant to breed, and for other purposes, younger boys are used for that. So,
yikes.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, so Eddie turns the discussion back to trade, telling them that he isn't able to take much cloth back with him, but he's really hoping that they can set up some sort of trade agreement or like training type thing, because again, cloth is something that they kind of struggle with. And let's see, they offer to set up a meeting with the head of the Weaving Guild. They offer him a place to stay for a few days so he can like stay and kind of get to know people. And he accepts and basically says that he's very happy to do whatever they need him to earn like his stay, basically, for like my room and board and food. Like, I'm definitely happy to earn that from you. And they're like, well, you've already earned it, basically, just by like sharing this information with us. Like, we're good, we don't have an issue with that. So he is taken to see the weavers. He very quickly notices one woman who is working with yarn that looks very different from the rest of the yarn. He asks who, like, what she's working with. He's told that she's Flora and that she's a silk weaver. It's explained to him that silk is incredibly hard to make, and they only have one tree of silkworm, so it's also difficult for them to have the like stuff that they need to make it.
Is this the Flora for the third book?
Yeah.
Did they get together?
You'll have to see.
My Flora, how many legs you have? 8? Wow. My
Sounds
Flora,
like
what
my
a big
kind of
behind you
woman.
have.
Yes.
Sounds like my kind of
Wow,
woman.
Flora, how many eyes you have? I can't even count that high. I'm frightened.
Yes, she is a spider. No. So, let's see. He's told she's Flora. She works with silk. Silk is saved for special occasions. It's really difficult to make. Eddie is taken back to see Thea after kind of touring where the weavers are working, speaking with the head of the guild. She goes and shows him like the worms in the tree that make the silk. And then Thea is basically like, here's your house, and then this home over here, they offered to host you for breakfast. So if you want to head over there in the morning, after dawn, she'll have breakfast for you, type of thing, and like have a good night. And she tells him to sleep tight, and he's like, what the fuck does that mean? Type of thing. He's like, oh, this is weird. So in the morning, he heads over to breakfast. When he knocks on the door, Flora opens. Sweet baby angel Flora, we love her. The first thing that Eddie notices is how striking Flora is close up. She's incredibly tall. She has very bright gray eyes that are lined in thick black liner. Her hair is a very dark red, almost to the point of being purple. And Eddie is immediately smitten with her. He's also just like, I've never seen like makeup. I've also never seen a woman with like beautiful hair like that. That's crazy. So he wishes her good morning. She invites him inside and says that she's made eggs, fresh bread, and she has jarred apples, water, and mint tea if he would like some. He tells her it sounds amazing and that he's honored, and she laughs and says, they warned me that you were super formal. And so over breakfast, he asks if she's always been a silk weaver. She tells him that she started with wool weaving But because she was so talented at it, the Silk Guild chose her to begin training with them. He tells her that he's really curious about what worm wool feels like. So she brings a swatch of silk and gently runs it over his cheek. He smiles and basically says, "What would it take for you to give me some of that?" And she asks if he's ever seen a working car before, telling him that she'll give him as much silk as he wants if he finds her a working car. So Eddie tries to get to know Flora a little. He is first and foremost making sure that he's establishing a relationship with somebody in the town so that he has a doorway to more trade. He's also just generally curious about Flora because he's never really seen anyone quite like her. So let's see, he asks how old she was when she became a weaver. She tells him that she started shortly after arriving in Jeff City as a child. He is surprised to hear that she wasn't born there, which is going to be another thing with him. He just makes a lot of fucking assumptions about people, which is also super frustrating. Eddie assumes that she's never been outside of the city. He sees her, like, kindness and openness as, like, naivety, so he just assumes that she's only lived within the walls of a city her whole life. And so, let's see. Okay, he asks if she arrived there with family or in part of a group, or if she was found and brought there by raiders. She tells him that she arrived alone. He's curious, assuming that she must have either been sold to the city or escaped captivity if she arrived alone into a city as a child. He gently asks if Jeff City buys girls from slavers when they pass through, and Flora very coyly says that she doesn't know. Eddie's confused and asks if new people or travelers come to town often. She looks uncomfortable before putting on a big smile and offering to take Eddie to someone who would know a little bit more about it. Like, she's being kind of evasive and not really wanting to answer questions. But she's just like, well, I know someone who can definitely answer these questions for you, though, so, like, we can go over and see them after breakfast. Flora takes him over to the infirmary, where he meets the tallest woman he's ever seen. Eddie asks her about newcomers to Jeff City. She tells them that they don't get many, but if someone wants to stay, as long as they're willing to do hard work and they aren't there to cause trouble, they don't have an issue having people join the city. Eddie asks if men are allowed to stay too, before going on to ask if they've ever bought women or girls from slavers. It's confirmed that they have, in fact, and they do and will continue to buy girls from slavers when they're given the opportunity. Eddie is too stunned to speak. He basically asks why they would do that, and they basically more or less say to keep the peace and to save the girl. Like, that's the easiest route to get a girl out of a slaver's hands is to buy her. That's what we're going to do, type of thing.
How would he do with Chloe?
He didn't buy her, he killed the slavers.
Yeah, I guess that was the original intent before, here, drink this.
I mean, yeah, that's the intent, was to kill. It was not, in fact, to trade. And there is...
But it was, like, it was... Okay, was their goal to rescue Chloe at the time, or was it just...
Yeah, their goal was to rescue Chloe, but they were never going to buy Chloe. They were only going to kill and take.
I think I understand that mentality, because I would also dedicate my life to also killing slavers and putting women in safe homes, but also as a community, you don't know how many people the slavers have in their group, so you don't need to risk an attack,
right?
So I can understand just let's purchase, and even though it continues on the trend, but there's only so many women in the world, how many can they find to sell?
Right. And this is like one of the really frustrating things about Eddie, because there is a literal point where Eddie buys a baby girl to return to her mother, and he's mad because he had to buy her. And because he had to buy her, that means he did something wrong. And it's like, okay, so leaving a baby in a harem was the better alternative to you than returning her to her mother. That's insane. So, like, Eddie is very black and white and black and white only, and that is so frustrating for me. But he asks what they tend to trade for the girls and women when they have the opportunity to trade for them. And he's told that basically they offer medical care. And he's like, cool, so not only are you helping the slave trade and allowing it to continue, but you're also healing the slavers so that they can go on and get more slaves, knowing that they can bring them here to get healed up type of thing. So he's like, not only are you trading with them, so you're interacting with the slave trade, but you're also actively benefiting the slavers by like healing them and giving them medicine. Like, he's very baffled by this.
It's reminded me of Fallout Equestria again, Velvet Remedy working for the slavers as a medic, because there were people that needed help. Yes, some were slavers, but more so the people that they were enslaving and selling off, they needed medical care, and she was not going to, like, morals aside, obviously Eddie has their own beliefs, but like everyone deserves some kind of treatment, even someone on the other side.
Right. So
sorry, it's also giving I want to say it was the Quakers. They would buy slaves just to free them, to the point where they stopped, like, are you Quaker? Sorry, you can't attend our auction anymore.
Yeah.
Like, yes, okay, morally you're doing something reprehensible, but like,
it's like you're feeding the industry.
And so I heard
essentially, but
to help
for an overarching good reason.
So I heard this phrase, and I kind of really like it, because I think it applies to like a lot of different scenarios. But don't let perfection stand in the way of good. And that was related to cats, which was kind of funny, because so it was one of the cat sanctuaries that we like follow on TikTok, or she did have a like cat sanctuary type thing. But anyways, so she was talking about like how best to feed cats, basically, type of thing. And she's like, yes, cats shouldn't get kibble, but there are so many cats that need a home. If you can't afford to feed your cat wet food, just put water in their kibble. And she's like, they need extra water, so do not just feed them just straight kibble. Basically moisten their kibble type of thing. But she's like, should they not eat kibble at all? Yes, but don't let perfection stand in the way of good. Like, cats need a home, and that is the like that's the hierarchy of needs, is that they need a home. And if people can give them a home, but they can't afford to feed them the best food, here's a good alternative that will keep a cat healthy, and it'll keep cats off the streets, type of thing. So like, I think that applies. And I was even just talking about this with Will, that sometimes like spreading a message of good is a better alternative to not sharing that, just because it's not packaged perfectly, type of thing.
Yeah, I feel like I see that in a lot of different communities, mostly like regarding politics. There is no perfect candidate, but you just choose the one that's best. Or even
yeah, it's like the whole me not wanting to vote because I hated both parties, but I have to vote in order to help.
But even idolizing influencers or something, like there is no perfect influencer. They may have some kind of like shady past. They may have, gone down or had certain views in a past video that is dredged up. But if they have, seemingly changed from that and like done a lot of good, that one blemish shouldn't ruin the entire thing.
And like, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Like, if you boycott every single company that is doing horrific things, you basically are left with nothing, right? Like, just Nestle, L'Oreal, like all of these companies, because it's basically like there's 3 big major companies that like are horrific, and then there's like the trickle down, and it's like, okay, cool, yeah, you can buy from like really small independent businesses, but that tends to be more costly because they have better business practices, which means that they're not cutting corners, meaning that they're using more costly things, and not everybody is able to afford to, go to farmers markets and buy like ethically sourced chocolate. And like, so it's, you kind of got to pick and choose your battles, unfortunately, type of thing. And it's like, boycott what you can, but like, you still also have to survive at the end of the day, right? So like, it's one of those things which I think is so important. But
it's like me wanting to live off the grid a little bit,
right?
Yeah, which I still do, but the cost, the means, the land you need to do that, it's so hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of barriers sometimes. So you really gotta sort of pick and choose what you're focusing on, because you can't win everything. You can't live perfectly and ethically. There's not a possible way to do that with the system that we have set up right now.
I try to avoid like Amazon as much as I can.
Me too. Oh,
convenient as they are, and Walmart. Like, I will only go there if like I just need something, like I don't have a lot to spend, but I need shoe inserts or something, and I'll get like the Equate brand because they are so cheap. Yes, it's not like the best practice, but also I'm not going to spend.
You also still have to live, though.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's another thing.
My alternative is like the $50 Dr. Scholl's,
Mhm.
like not prescription ones, but like different. They have the mappy thing you can stand on and tells you like where your
Yeah.
pressure points are.
Oh, I did that, and I tried it, and I was in so much pain after buying it that I had to return them. And you have to go through a whole process for that.
It's so upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, screw it.
Yeah, mine were super comfy, and then the next time I just got like $11 like heavy duty construction soles.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways.
No, you're good. Okay, so generally,
that was a good conversation.
I know. I'm like, we're having a lot of really good like yap tangents. Okay.
Yeah, good yap tangents.
So Jeff City overall stance is that slavers are they're gonna be doing it regardless of whether or not they're interacting with the trade. So at least they're able to save girls and women by doing this. And basically saying that they didn't make the world like this, but they have to live in it, type of thing. So like, yeah, we wouldn't have it set up this way, but we didn't create the situation, and we're just trying to do the best with what we have, basically. Flora very quietly asks Eddie what his people do with slavers, and Eddie laughs and says, well, we kill him and hang him outside the gates with a sign saying why we killed them. And
Love that.
yeah, and anyone who wants to stay with us gets to stay with us, type of thing. And so the doctor kind of tells Eddie, dead men don't learn. Basically, dead men don't learn, but changed men can change the world. Eddie very quickly laughs and says men don't change, they never will. And the doctor just kind of smiles like she's really amused by this and says, okay, fine, if that's what you think, that's fine. And spoilers, they have so many women because a lot of them are trans women. So that's like kind of why the doctor is the tallest woman Eddie's ever seen, but also she just kind of laughs because she's like,
I do kind of like knowing that, though, because like,
yeah,
change men don't learn. I love that actually so much.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering, I think it was, well, Flora, who is also very tall, so maybe something about her. Eddie asked like, what happens to all the men, and she's like, I'll take it to someone else who can answer that for you.
And there actually, in the second book, there is another city, third book, there is another city where it is all women, and basically once a boy hits puberty, they can either become a woman or they can leave, type of thing. Like, men are not allowed in that city at all, point blank, period.
It's very lion-esque. Because, like, well, I mean, the lions, the male doesn't like other males in their pride, so, but...
I mean, it's kind of like a not male-dominated, but, like, the men are so feared, violent, they have such a reputation, it's like, you can either become one of us or go join them. Like, there's no in between.
Can you imagine how much men fucked up, like, in the beginning of the fallout of, like, the pandemic?
Yeah.
That, like, women are like, you need to...
I can, but I don't want to.
Yeah, it's like men are dangerous, so you can show that you're not dangerous by becoming a woman. Like, you can prove yourself by becoming this, because women are seen as just more level-headed, more calm, more reasonable, that type of thing. And that kind of happens a lot in, like, various societies of, like, well, if you're gonna be hot-headed, you can, like, go hang out with the men. Or, like, maybe you're thinking like a man because you're spending too much time out on the road. So maybe you need to learn how to think rationally and like stay here more, or like that sort of thing. Yeah, there's one where the men and women live separately and the women are silent because they're like, if you want to go be loud, that's a man's job, just go fucking be loud over there, like, type of thing. So also just a lot of what I find fascinating, the two towns that live separately, hunting is a woman's job because women are more patient and they're able to be quieter and they are able to, like, stalk their prey. So hunting is a woman's job. Farming's a man's job because men are good at planting seed. So it's just, like, really fascinating, the different sort of, like, they still have the buckets of, like, this is what men do and this is what women do, but, like, their definitions over time has, like, changed in a way that, like, I think is kind of cool.
Is it inappropriate for me to assume or just make a joke that the place you described is called Transylvania?
It's
I love that, actually.
it's called Manhattan. But it's not, in fact, in New York.
Okay, I'm not.
Yeah. Which I thought was just really funny because it is like one town that's two towns. Because the women basically, every once in a while they'll come and they'll bring 3 men back and they'll bang them for 3 days and then they send them out. And if you have 3 chances to give someone a baby, otherwise you are not getting called again, type of thing. And the women also take care of the livestock and animals. So they're like very much a farming and hunting community, but the women hunt and take care of the livestock because they're patient and nurturing, and the men just take care of growing the food and just hoping that they get brought over to like make some babies, type of thing.
I love the switch up.
Yeah.
In this book.
And the men, they do a lot of like knitting and sewing too. They didn't necessarily explain why that was like a man's job, but as Eddie's like staying the night with them, like the men are either like reading books or they're all like knitting or crocheting or just making
Trying to teach them some patience.
oh, because it was geometry. So because he's given a quilt and he's like, "Oh, I made this for my baby brother, but he's not going to be adult for a couple of years, so you can have it. I can make him a new one." And just talking about like the engineering that goes into like making a quilt, type of thing. So that also what I found to be just interesting. I do like kind of the switch ups and how the different things fall into different buckets.
I hope that the Transylvanian joke wasn't inappropriate. I'm also not very clever because I know, there are trans jokes that aren't harmful, and I hope that wasn't. I don't believe that it was. So yeah.
Yeah.
Love trans people.
It would be more like Bi-Sylvania, right? Because it's like 2.
Boys and trans women?
No, just this one is like men live on one side and women live like off in the woods type of thing. So it's one town, but
What
2.
if you call it the bisectional?
Bisectional. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not clever.
That's okay. We love you anyways because you're pretty. All right.
So
So
one of the kindest people ever. So I'll fight the comments.
Trans rights are human rights.
There you go.
yeah, hell yeah. Let's go. All right. So let's see. So this is going to be an ongoing sort of battle between Flora and Eddie. Both very steadfast in their way of thinking. But obviously nothing is always black and white, right? So like Flora is very much in the like murder is wrong, always, point blank period, and Eddie is trading with slavers is wrong, point blank period, they deserve to die type of thing. So it's kind of sort of like a pacifist versus just, I don't know, a pragmatist, I guess, type of thing. And it's like, I get where Eddie's coming from and I get why he feels the way that he feels, but it's what good is going to be done, right? So like you see a harem full of babies and you know you can't shoot your way out of saving all of them. Realistically, the reasonable choice is to do what you can to save however many you can, right? So like whether or not that's doing trading, that's going to be the optimal good, because if you can't kill them without getting killed yourself, then you're not helping anyone, right? So like and that this is also going to be another one of those like things that just is so frustrating about Eddie, like because he like smacks first into a point and just fucking misses it every goddamn time. So he really is a man. Like
I was about to say that too. I'm like, yeah, Eddie is a man. Got it.
Right. Also, just how fucking oblivious he is as to like who Flora is. Yo, it's fucking nuts, dude. So anyways, all right. So both are very steadfast in their way of thinking. Nothing is ever black and white, obviously, though. So there isn't always going to be one correct answer. Like sometimes Eddie's right. Sometimes you have to kill them, and sometimes Flora's right. Sometimes it's optimal to keep the peace and do the good that you can do.
Assessing the situation in the moment.
Correct.
So
exactly.
I do believe in both ways, but
I agree. Like neither of them are outright wrong, but they are. I'd say Eddie more so than Flora, because Flora at least seems to be able to adapt once given new information, and Eddie just very much is like, no, this is the right way, and this is the only right way. Yeah.
Neither idea by itself, like widespread, is going to like change things,
right? Because
for the better. There's
not one blanket answer for everything, right? So, all right, so this is going to be a really, really big issue that's just going to keep coming up. So let's
I still hope they get together.
All right. So, and to Flora's point, it's possible that some people are participating in these systems of oppression because it's just what they know, right? They've never known a world where this stuff wasn't happening. So if I need to do this type of thing to survive, then I have to. It's not something that I would necessarily choose to do if I had other options type of thing, which it feels like also people who know better do better, right? So like if you've never known anything else except this type of system of living, it's reasonable to think that you wouldn't necessarily agree with it, but you don't know that there's other options out there, right? So like just to kind of Flora's point, so let's see. Another aspect of Flora's stance is more or less that people are just trying to survive. So that's going to consistently be a theme for her with Eddie, is her telling Eddie, you don't know what you would do if you were put in a situation where you have to survive. Like you don't know what you would be capable of doing. You could do things that you would never choose to do because you have to. And like one of the things I love about Flora so much is that she has come from such a horrific background, and she is just such like love and light, ray of sunshine. Everybody deserves a chance to change. And it's
at all costs.
It's like Flora went through something horrific and came out the other side a better, kinder, more understanding person, whereas Eddie went through something horrific, which has just completely hardened him to like everything.
The same water that
Yep.
parboils the egg softens the potato.
Yeah, so like Eddie would be obviously the egg, whereas I would say Flora's
the potato?
No, I would consider Flora to be the coffee.
Okay, yeah.
Like I think that she was the potato, and then she
just the water.
Yeah, and then she goes on like her ultimate,
I want to be coffee.
Like her ultimate goal is to like change how things are. Like she very much views women as being sacred, and she feels like women are what's going to change the world. So it is important to protect them, but also like life is valuable. Like people can change. People are capable of changing. People don't do bad things always because that's just what they want to do. So that's more so like Flora's side of things.
If we ever do like merch, can we be the coffee?
Be the
you want to see in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. Be the coffee you want to see in the craft. Just as a coffee hoe. All three of us actually are coffee peoples.
I feel like I'm a hard-boiled egg, but
I like my coffee like I like my women, hot and icy.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
I love
do.
that. I love iced coffee. Can't drink warm coffee.
Yeah, so basically don't judge, you can't really and shouldn't judge people for what they're doing when they're doing what they need to survive. Like if you haven't been in that situation, you can't really say that you would never do these things. So rolling theme over the next two books is basically, can people change? Should people who have done bad things be allowed to change? And who gets to make and set these rules, right? So what is seen as barbaric in one community is completely normal and rational in another. So basically who gets to dictate what is correct and what is incorrect. So once outside from meeting with the midwife doctor person, Eddie point blank asks Flora for what her story is. She wasn't brought to Jeff City. She was an apprentice to a slaver. So she was traveling with the slaver. She was his apprentice. And then when the slaver passed away, Flora was given the opportunity to change and join Jeff City, and she took that opportunity. Flora tells Eddie that there's so much that he can't understand, and that he's never going to understand if he only sees violence as the only viable solution. Eddie is furious by this. Instead of leaving, though, he decides to go see what the side of town that travelers actually are meant to like enter through. So when Eddie heads over to like the trading hub, he finds that there's gates, well-armored patrols, and this side of the city is 30 to 40 men with only 2 to 3 women, which is absolutely a normal ratio for him to be seeing in a society. So he's like, okay, this is like weird. And again, also kind of like that side is the face that they present to everybody else, and then they have like the side that is like kept hidden kind of for them type of thing. So everyone's openly armed in the market area as well. Side note, we learn just like a little blip here, because Our Lady doesn't just stick with the one POV. She be giving us like the tea on other things. Like in the Unnamed, she basically told us what became of every single character even after the Unnamed like left the picture. So here we learn that SDL is led by the Lion. Raiders from SDL have traveled all over the country, raiding spring to autumn of every single year. Raiding parties always consist of 4 men with explicit instructions on what they are to seek out, what they are to trade, and what they are to take. And they are never to trade for something that they can steal. So these men all wear a claw around their neck. So they have like a necklace with a claw pendant on it. And they're known as the paws of the lion. So the things...
4. Got it.
Huh?
4.
Yeah. Yes, correct. Wow. Okay. Hell yeah. Let's go. All right. So never even occurred to me. So the things the lion wants in this order: guns, components for making explosives or ammo, and metal. Brass and copper being the top 2, and iron and steel being the second most important metals. Raiders are to report back if they find any towns that are making guns and any towns that have electricity. And then anytime they find a machine capable of flight, they are to report back as well. And any villages with drug makers, the drug maker is to immediately be brought to the lion. Finally, the raiders are to bring back any women or girls, no matter their age or condition. If they see one, they take it, period, point blank. And another reason Jeff City very much interacts with these people is because if they don't, the entire city will be burned down. So it's like, what choice do we have but to let them take what they want to take if it means that every single person in the city is going to end up dead or enslaved because we try to put up a fight?
The lion really seems similar to Negan and the Saviors.
It is, yeah. It very much is. They come across a town, you either give me tribute or I kill you, and then they move on. Obviously, we know that Negan doesn't abide by rape unless it's through coercion. Whereas the lion...
Dubcon.
Yeah. Whereas the lion, obviously...
I was also thinking the trash people, I am blanking on their names of, just because of...
Yeah.
Jana being like... we
don't... We take and we don't bother.
Yes. Wait, does Negan support not gun?
He doesn't abide by rape in that there is a scene in the show where someone is trying to sexually assault somebody and he very much like immediately kills them and he's like, we don't fucking allow rape.
I'm like,
trash.
I can't support Negan if...
However, he has wives, and sometimes it's like, you be my wife and I'll let your family have this medication that they need because you can't afford that medication, but if you don't want to be my wife, then you don't get to have this medication that's life-saving. So it's not a violent rape.
It's still a choice, but even if it's like darker, it is still a choice.
It's
that's
so
dubious.
Non-consent through coercion type of thing. So he's not going to violently take something from somebody, but he will use, which is like, and I love Negan and I hate that. Like, that's like the one thing I hate, but also at the same time, he's not going to let his men like brutalize women, which is inherently good, right?
But he's so complex
yes.
He's objectively a bad person. He does have certain morals that do work, and then
what
some.
What would you call that in a book? Not gray. It's not gray morals, but is it like? Because you got your morally gray men in books.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know what you would call that per se, but one thing that I do find so interesting about that is that if Rick was faced with different choices, could we really say that he's much different from Negan, right? Because there's definitely places where they roll up and they just like fucking kill everybody because that's what they need to do.
There's not a single good person, I feel,
right,
in The Walking Dead. They're just different versions of good and bad.
Correct. Yeah, just like Shane and Rick, they could have become the same people had Rick had to face similar things that Shane did, and Rick could be and probably is Negan to a lot of other people just because of choices he's had to make. So that's one of the reasons I like how complex the show is, because
I love the character development and just like in general.
Because Negan basically set up a society that's a safe haven. They do take anybody in. You do have to work. Basically, it's like a capitalistic society, right? Like, you do have to work. There are, like, the haves and the have-nots, but everybody's here is safe. You have the ability to work for what you need. Everybody has, like, equal opportunities kind of under capitalism, right? Everybody has equal opportunities. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, blah, blah, blah. But it's a lot harder if you're born into, like, just based on what level of society you're born into, right? But yeah, that's kind of one of the complexities, and that's why I would like to get past, sort of, because I know Negan...
Well, I can get past it, though. Like, I know it's coercion, but still, if you need the medicine, go out and find it, like, type thing. But I know I know that sounds worse than what is happening in my head when it comes to that, though, but it's still a choice in a world where the choice can be easily taken away.
Correct.
So...
Yeah, you're not wrong. He's definitely not a good guy for this, but again, he has generally set up a society. He rules with an iron fist, but people still have the opportunities to make choices, and women are more or less protected.
Yeah, because, like, I'm getting to the part where I'm about to meet Negan, because they just rated where they, like, we're like, we'll deal with your Negan problem, and so they're like, we're all Negan. And so, right now, I'm already inclined to hate Negan, so I'm just trying to justify to myself why everybody likes Negan currently, but I guess I'm about to find out.
He's a very complex character. I mean, I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Like, he can fucking get it any day of the week.
Well, all the clips I see, like, Negan's very, like, he was upset with Carl dying, like, he really loved Carl, and I'm like, why is he bad? Like, so, like, I'm having an issue. I guess I'm about to find out.
Yeah.
Because he's one of those complex characters, he's one of the ones where, like, under the, like, slightly different circumstances, like, compared to Thanos or even
yeah, I don't even hate Thanos that much.
Where it's like, potentially
the point you're trying to make is good. You're just doing it the fuckiest way you possibly could with Thanos.
Right.
Like, that's like, it's like, yeah, okay, you're trying to save civilizations that are about to extinguish themselves, but, like, that's the craziest fucking solution you could possibly come up with.
And they make so much better villains than just, I want to rule the world, destroy the world, I have a vendetta against one person.
Like, so what they want to do is good. It's good in their mind.
We're trying to make the world better based on my rules because I think this is how it should be done. But yeah, like, he's not to, like, give too many spoilers or anything, but, like, he kind of runs everyone's lives for a little while, goes to visit the town, and Rick is like, why are you here? I was waiting for you. I made your kids spaghetti.
Oh my god, I love that so much. Yeah, because he's like, he comes to Alexandria. He is there to meet Rick. Rick isn't there presently, so he goes and hangs out with Carl and Judith, and he makes them spaghetti. He's, like, hanging out with baby Judith, chilling. He's like, oh my god, you're so sweet. And then he's like, hell yeah, lemonade, let's go, Minute Maid. Like, he's just, like, out here. He's like, there's a fucking pool table, let's take it outside, everybody come play pool. Like, he's just such a complex and interesting character, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan does such a fucking good job with him.
I think that was the same episode. Well, excuse me, son, pardon my goddamn French, but did you just threaten me?
Yep.
Or excuse the shit out of me, and pardon my goddamn French, but did you just threaten? Like, he just has such a way with words, and he's, like, so likable despite, like, no, not despite. When he's not doing such terrible things, like, he's a likable villain.
Yeah.
And then he does something absolutely horrendous, and you're like, God damn it, I love you.
Yeah, and he definitely has, like, a weird moral compass. Like, someone basically comes up to him and is, like, trying to undermine Rick, and he's like, oh, so you're a pussy. Like, if you wanted to be the leader, you would take Rick out, but you want to fucking come and try to undermine him, so, like, go fuck yourself. Or Carl basically rolls up to, like, fucking, and Negan's like, you're a fucking badass. Like, you did a fucked thing, but you're a badass, so let's chill. Like, I love him so much. And then Carl starts crying, he's like, you're a badass, stop crying. Like, fucking quit crying. And then he's like, yeah, you're such a badass, I forgot you're a kid, and that was a fucked up thing for me to say to a kid, huh? Like,
I'm so conflicted. Oh my god, I just have to watch it.
I know,
oh
I know.
It's like there's humanity in there, but he's not, like, putting on a macho persona, but, like, that's kind of what he shows, but there is some good in there, but you can't just be a morally completely good person in the world that you're living in.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way.
Right.
But it's not like he has a.
It's like I started loving Rick the more badass he became.
Mhm.
So
It's not like he has a fake hard exterior, for the world, but
Like, he does what he has to do, but he thinks that he's doing right by his people, right? Because from Negan's perspective, Rick just fucking rolled up and killed like compound on compound of
that's
people.
what I was thinking too.
So
And then
he's
like,
like,
you
what am I
just
supposed
killed
to
a
do
bunch
about
of
this?
people because someone
While they were
said they
sleeping.
were bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
while they were sleeping. Because they know nothing. They just met this town, which, by the way, the mayor, whoever ran there, was already a
Yo.
fucking misogynist asshole. And I'm like, you're gonna, like,
Gregory.
because you need fucking food, you're gonna just assume that these people are bad? Like, so, yeah.
I mean, Negan's bad. Like, they're
And
not.
no, they are all
Yes.
bad.
they were all Negan.
It's just, who do you like more?
Right. It's like you're the hero in your own story type of thing, but like there's choices that have to be made, and you don't necessarily know what you would do until you're put in that situation.
I will tell you.
Choices.
I will tell you, if I was put
Choices.
into an apocalyptic situation, I'm the bad person, because I
Right.
will do anything to protect the people I love.
Right. And like even like Abraham's lore, right? Like
Oh yeah, him.
his full backstory where basically he had to do something incredibly brutal to protect his family, which ended up driving his family away because they were horrified by what he had to do. But also, what the fuck, he took care of business. Like, he stood on business. Like, he did what he needed to do
I
for
did
his
like
family.
Abraham. He's a deeply complex character.
Yeah.
So.
I rest in peace, King. All right. So, anyways, Deborah is obviously beside herself, just like fully fallen over, sobbing. She
I'm
first
sorry, she's not for sale.
Right. She first says, like, oh, she's super sickly. She's really difficult to care for. Like, you don't want to take her. And the, like, leader of the Raiders pinches her arm fat and goes, she looks healthy enough. Let's take her. She's fully sobbing. Eddie is shocked seeing that not a single person is doing anything to stop it. He does try to, like, step up, but he also realizes there's 4 of them. There's one of him. His gun only has 4 bullets, meaning that he would need to hit every single one of them quickly
Wait, are
without
they
hitting the
trading
baby.
a baby? I'm sorry.
They handed her a bullet for the baby. They took the baby and they gave her a bullet.
And his Deadeye is completely out of juice. He can't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Eddie's gonna do something about it. He tries to stand up and be like, you can't just take her. And they were like, well, you can fucking come talk to the Lion if you have an issue with it. So Eddie is very much beating himself up over this, because he's like, nobody did anything, but I didn't do enough. But again, reality of the situation was there was no way for him to safely remove Miles from that situation. Like, there was nothing he could have done. So Eddie leaves and he walks for days heading towards SDL. One day he climbs up onto an overpass. He knows that a storm's rolling in and he wants to find an actual shelter for him to stay in for the night. But then he hears the sound of hooves coming up. He turns around and there's a rider on a horse approaching with another horse trailing behind. The rider slows down when they see Eddie. And as the rider gets closer, Eddie reaches for his gun. The rider stops and they have a bunch of fabric covering their face. And when they flip back their fabric, it's Flora. She very excitedly says that she's so happy she found Eddie. She asks why he came this way, why he's heading towards SDL, saying that the raiders are looking for him because he, like, confronted them. And that she's come out here to find him and bring him back to Jeff City before he gets hurt. Eddie tells her that he's making camp for the night and then he's going to SDL in the morning. Flora basically says, okay, cool, I guess I'm coming with you. While they're making camp, Eddie fully lays into Flora about no one trying to stop the men from taking Miles. Flora explains that the deal has been made with SDL. She's not sure of the details, but she knows that the men can make things a lot worse for Jeff City if they don't comply. Eddie brings up that they don't take horsewomen before referring to Flora as a horsewoman. So he doesn't know that Flora is a horsewoman. He's just kind of like trying to suss out, but he also has not a fucking clue in the world what a horsewoman is.
And I was like, what the hell is a horsewoman?
Okay, so you grew up liking horses. You drew pictures of horses and wrote fan fiction about horses. You talk endlessly about horses. Oh, that's not what that is? Oh.
Right. So she confirms that yes, she is a horsewoman, and no, they don't take horsewomen, but she doesn't elaborate any further with any additional details.
And they're not the horse racing Umas. and from the game/anime.
Or are they? So
Goldship would not take this.
all right. I trust. I trust in your belief system.
When she wins a race, she will jump kick. No, she will drop kick the trainer because she is so excited, and also
Good for her.
nuts because the horse was nuts.
Okay. So anyways, the next morning, Flora tries again to talk Eddie out of going to SDL. Eddie remains stubborn because of course he does. He tells Flora that she needs to go home. He tells her he doesn't want company and he doesn't want a coward. Flora very
What a dick.
right. Flora very quietly tells him that she thought he liked her. Eddie says that it is impossible for him to like her. And she says that she left to come be with him because she wants to be with him. She wants to follow him. And that she left her home because she wants to be something different with him. And Eddie basically stops, and he understands the aching need to run away from who you have to be at home type of thing. And he also does like Flora. Like, they do have like a little romantic kissy moment here and there. So like there is something between them. He's just, again, everything's black and white. You don't agree with my worldview. That means that you must be a bad person or you must be stupid type of thing. But again, he kind of resonates with her feelings. They continue to travel together. Eddie asks Flora about her past. She tells him that she was very young and she worked for an old man named Archie. He claimed to have known the before times, even though realistically that shouldn't be possible because it's been like 100 years since the before times. So it could be, but Archie would have to be like
102, 103.
astoundingly old when he got Flora, not knowing how old Flora is, but I would assume in her 20s or 30s at the absolute most. Archie found Flora in Florida. He claimed to have known the king of Florida, so he named Flora after the king of Florida. So that's why her name is Flora. When Archie found her, she had nothing, not even a name. She was more or less born in captivity, and she was trained from an incredibly young age on how to be of service. Eddie asks about Florida. She tells him that it's warm and wet all the time with huge monsters that come out of the water and eat men. Flora goes on to tell Eddie that Archie wasn't the one who cut her, because Eddie asked if she was cut because a lot of women who are in captivity are cut, female circumcision. And so when Eddie asks if she's cut, she says yes, but Archie's not the one that did it. So they will continue to have conversations where he'll ask her something and she'll answer honestly, but she didn't understand what he was asking and he doesn't understand her answer.
They're having two different conversations, but they just happen to like
line up correctly. Yeah.
A comedy of errors, misunderstandings, rom-com.
Right. So like Eddie makes a comment saying like, I'm really sorry that you were cut. I know that that's really difficult. Like I know people who have been. And she's like, well, I don't remember being cut. It must have been when I was a baby. I don't know any other like body that I've lived in. So like but I have had to watch other kids be cut and they were old enough to know what they were losing. So like I understand, but like also you don't need to pity me because this is the only life and body I've ever had type of thing. So let's see. Okay. She goes on to tell Eddie that when she came to Jeff City, her father there bought her and he raised her in Jeff City, and that she loved him dearly. He died a few years back during a twister, so we can probably deduce that Jeff City is somewhere in like Tornado Alley.
Hell yeah. Which we're about to be the new Tornado Alley eventually.
Shut your whore mouth. All right. So Eddie asks if there are any men in Flora's life. She tells him that she's been with a few men and women, but she's never been with anyone like Eddie. Eddie is fully shook. Basically like, you've been with both. Because in Nowhere, not that it's not an option to be with the same sex, but if you're a woman capable of being a mother, why would you not want to do that, is kind of the mentality. So 2 women together is a waste, more or less. So Eddie is like surprised, thinking that, well, Jeff City must be different then if Flora was able to be with both genders. He also then thinks of the unnamed, because she too was bisexual. Flora asks Eddie if he has anyone back home, and if he has a hive. He tells her that he has some women that he likes to be with, but it's not something that can ever be permanent. Eddie tells her it must be easier for her in Jeff City with so many women. No one would really care if 2 women were together. This confuses Flora. She doesn't understand why it would be anyone's business who you're with. Eddie explains that with so few women, people think that it's a waste for 2 women to be together. As mentioned, Flora is horrified by this, saying some women can't or don't want to be mothers. And then she asks if where Eddie's from, women are forced to be mothers. And he says that it's complicated, before thinking to himself that in nowhere women are respected and worshipped, but only if they are the right kind of woman. Remembering that 2 women had lived together, and they were left out of community gatherings. Most people didn't really talk to them until they started a joint hive together. Then they were invited and people were a lot more kind to them, but both women ultimately ended up dying a few years apart due to childbirth. So
That's tragic.
yeah. So, and then, yeah, that's also, like, just a thing for Eddie again. And later in the book, he's going to have a confrontation with Alice, who is going to make a comment to him, like, you're not going to live the life you want because you're worried about dirty looks type of thing. So this, I would feel, is another thing that, like, Eddie is making into a bigger deal in his head. Like, he could live the life he wants, but it's not the perfect way, and it's not going to get him the optimal outcome within his society. So he's just going to force himself to be something he's not because he doesn't want people to look negatively at him, even if, again, it's just sort of dirty looks and side eye that he's, like, worried about type of thing. So Eddie asks Flora about why Jeff City has such a low birth rate, because they will typically only have like 1 baby a year, whereas nowhere will have like maybe 2 or 3 a year. And with the higher population of women, this doesn't make sense to Eddie. So he's asking about it. Flora simply says that, of course, it's because horsewomen can't have children. Eddie doesn't press any further on what she means, but he, again, fully doesn't know what a horsewoman is. So he's just like, oh, okay, that's weird, but I guess. Flora tells him
One time he's not curious.
Flora tells him that the last baby that was born was last year, and the one before that was Miles. Eddie shakes his head, and now he's even more astonished that they just let STL take Miles. Like, she's one of your newest babies, and you just let her be fucking taken. Flora tells him it's not that simple. A few years back, STL had burned down an entire city because they wanted one 15-year-old girl. Hundreds of people died. The rest found new homes, some of which came to Jeff City, which is why Flora knows that this happened. And she basically just says that's a really large price to pay for one person's child.
If they were able to kill 100 people,
right,
that's a big community.
Right. And Eddie says, asks her if that's a price she would be willing to pay, and she says, I can't be a parent, so I'm never going to have to make that choice. Like, I'm not even going to try to guess on how I would handle that situation type of thing. Eddie tells her that every single child is everyone's responsibility, telling Flora to imagine no one fighting to keep her, and she tells him that as far as she knows, no one ever did fight to keep her. And this is a case in point for Eddie actually being the one that's naive in the world. Like, he just sees her as being kind and idealistic, but he doesn't even stop to process, like, she was born in captivity. She's only knew slavery until she arrived at Jeff City, and she was been trained for like a very young age, had no name. Like, why would he think anybody had ever fought for her? Like, she started out life in like the most horrific situation a woman in this time could be in, you know? So again, just he thinks because he's been through a lot, and that he's left his home, he is worldly, but he's so not. And that'll also be a theme of like, there are things you could never even imagine until you see them, type of thing. So let's see. Okay, so the next day, Eddie and Flora, or Eddie asks Flora why she wears so much fabric to cover her face. She's basically like fully just draped in like silk. And she says that the women of Jeff City do that so that they can leave feeling protected. Eddie tells Flora that would make way more sense for her to pose as a man rather than hiding under all the fabric, saying that it does nothing to disguise the fact she's a woman. He basically makes a comment that she might as well like be a wrapped up present.
I just want to punch Eddie.
I know. And like
yes and no.
I know him and I see him and I understand why he thinks and views things the way he does, but like it doesn't change the fact that he's wrong and very frustrating. So Flora very quickly cuts him off. Her jaw is clenched and she tells him that she will never wear the clothes of a man. Eddie can tell that he's upset her, but he tells her that it's not worth it to look like a woman. It's because it's not safe if they encounter a man. Flora asks Eddie if he would rather pretend to be the hunter than the hunted. He tells her that he would pretend to be a tree if it meant he was safe. He doesn't want to be a hunter. He doesn't want to be a slaver. That's not something he wants to do. But Flora just tells him that he doesn't know what he would do in order to survive. We are also really seeing, again, Eddie just making a lot of assumptions about her. He's surprised to...
Eddie don't deserve her.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. Because he changes, but he doesn't really change. Like they still have this dichotomy like right up until the end.
Flora has every right to look like a woman if that's what she chooses, because that's what
correct.
She wants.
Right. So
it's a post-apocalyptia. There are no rules.
Right. Apparently there's one rule to Eddie. So he is surprised to learn Flora wasn't born behind the walls. Given how delicate and soft-hearted she is, he assumes that she's like that because she hasn't been exposed to darkness, but we know obviously she was born and grew from darkness.
She was born of the darkness.
Right.
I'm assuming Flora hasn't fully told Eddie yet the backstory because...
No.
Okay. All right, I just need to make that known because I'd be so much more angry.
And, like, part of it is that, once everything is sort of revealed to both parties, Flora has this moment of, like, you really didn't know what a horsewoman was, but there's a point where...
I don't understand.
And, well, I'll explain more as it unfolds. But, like, so that's such a common thing that she doesn't think that he doesn't know, but he does ask her very direct questions. There is a point where he will ask her a question and she has to know that he doesn't know who she is, like based on that question alone, and we will get to it. But like I'm like, girl, you knew he didn't know. That one question alone fucking should have set off hella alarm bells for you. But regardless, all will be revealed. Anyway, so she's been through horrible things and she's come out the other side, way more understanding because of it. In reality, Flora has a lot more life experience than Eddie does, and she's had to grow up in dark places and do really awful things in order to survive, so she has, like, a more well-formed worldview. They continue on for a bit, before Flora tells Eddie that being a woman is something that's sacred. That people didn't understand that being a woman was sacred in the before times, but the plague made it so people had to understand. Eddie laughs, telling Flora that women could be whoever and whatever they wanted to be, and that they were able to prevent being mothers if that's what they wanted, but now most women are property and most live incredibly brutal lives. Later, Flora asks Eddie if he wished he were a woman. This catches him off guard, and he's worried that she knows his secret, but when he looks at her, he doesn't see judgment in her eyes. So he tells her he wishes he were neither, and he wished nobody cared either way. But Flora's, like, stance is, women are the ones that are going to change the world by becoming mothers. And, like, another aspect to the horsewoman and why there are so many in Jeff City is that if everyone looks like a woman, SDL isn't going to come in and just start grabbing everybody off the streets. So she's like, us being there and them knowing that the city's full of horsewomen protects women. Some women can walk safely in the streets because they're just going to assume that any woman they see outside is a horsewoman. So she's like, I'm doing my part by keeping women safe, but also this is who I am intrinsically. So it's really multifaceted, especially with like Flora. So let's see. When they do make it over to SDL, Eddie intends to hide and sneak his way into the city, telling Flora that if they see her, they're going to take her. But she tells Eddie that she's not going to be taken because SDL is familiar with horsewomen, and realistically, they're not looking for horsewomen. So they see like a group kind of scouting in the area, so she pops out and she's like, hey, we're here to trade. And Eddie is just like very like, what the fuck are you doing? But Flora also does say a little too much. So she basically is like, I come to trade silk, and Eddie here has medications. And so they ask like, what kind of drugs do you have? And he's like, well, I have a lot of different kinds of drugs. Right.
Like, what do you sell?
Yeah, like I have a lot of different things. And so they're like, cool, any first they asked if he was a drug maker, and he said, no, I'm just a trader. And then they're like, all right, well, let's take you over to the Lion, because anyone trading drugs has to go see him directly. So they are led into an enormous old world hotel in the middle of SDL. Eddie is very immediately hit with an incredibly strong scent of cats. He's looking around the building and thinking to himself, like, there must be 100 fucking cats that live here because it fucking reeks. So they enter the main room. He sees the silhouette of a very large man. And in his hand, the man is holding 2 chains. The room is kind of dark, so Eddie isn't...
2 chains? How did you survive this long?
Right. So Eddie isn't necessarily sure, like, what is going on with these chains. But as they approach, Eddie took in the Lion of SDL, and he notes that this is a tower of a man. Eddie notes that he has no weapons on him, but as Eddie gets closer, he sees what is connected to the chains. In one chain, there's a fully grown lion, the kind that Eddie has only ever seen in old world books, and on the other chain is a tiger. Eddie isn't sure if he's more worried about the cats or the amount of men in the room with him. So basically picture like if Negan and Ezekiel were like one and the same. So let's see. Okay. The guards announce to the Lion of SDL that they have brought him a drug maker, but Eddie very quickly says he's a drug trader. He doesn't have the skill to make the drugs. The Lion asks to see what Eddie brought. Eddie lays out his wares, and he hopes that whatever he knows, if drug traders have to come immediately to him, he's looking for something specific, and I really fucking hope that everything I just laid out is not what he's looking for. The Lion assesses his wares. He then instructs one of his men to go pick a handful. The man leaves, and he comes back with 2 teen girls, 2 adult women, and Miles. The Lion tells Eddie that he has very worthy goods, and he offers Eddie 1 truck, a map with marked locations of where he can go and get fuel to fill up while he's out and about, and he can have 1 woman from the Lion's personal stock. Eddie decides that he's going to shoot for big bucks, no whammies, so he asks for 1 more thing. He asks for bullets. The Lion says, if you're going to ask for 1 more thing, you better offer me 1 more thing. Eddie then pulls out a secret compartment, and he reveals a small vial. He tells the Lion, this is an incredibly strong painkiller. It's the best that you could possibly get. But before Eddie can tell him what the Lion's called, the Lion smiles and says opium. And it's here that Eddie knew he fucked up, because that was very clearly what the Lion was looking for. The Lion asks Eddie if he has more. Eddie pulls out 2 more vials. The Lion tells Eddie that he needs a lot more. He tells Eddie that he can either send men to his village to get more, or Eddie can bring the drug maker to him. Basically, like, I can send my men to go get what you got, or you can bring your drug maker here.
Basically made himself a target.
Yeah. So Eddie basically tells him that the flowers are really finicky and difficult to grow. They only have them because they were already growing there. So it's not feasible for him to bring his drug maker here, and they don't trade in his city directly in his city for safety reasons. But he tells the Lion, I'm definitely happy to send traders out to you guys regularly to bring you more. So the Lion is basically like, it's a deal. Any traders you send here will take one woman and as many bullets as they can carry for each delivery that you bring me. With this, the deal is struck. The Lion offers Eddie a claw medallion, telling Eddie that this will open doors for him when he's wearing it. When they get to the truck, Eddie says he doesn't know how to drive, but Flora very gleefully says she knows how to drive. They then get in the car, and Flora asks if they're going to be taking Miles home. Eddie confirms they will. Flora asks if he wants her to stay there, and he says, no, you don't have to stay there. And she's like, good, because you need a driver. So they get Miles home.
So did they trade for Miles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Miles was the woman that he picked, obviously.
Okay.
And then he asks for bullets, and you better off him one more thing, and that's how the whole
correct
Obi-Wan thing started.
Correct. And then let's see. So they get Miles home, and like one thing to note is that all of the Lion's women were very docile and seemed out of it, and Miles was barely conscious and does not start to become conscious until they're all the way back to Jeff City.
They're drugging him to hell and
And
back.
that's why he wants opium, is to keep the women docile.
Yeah, keep them compliant.
And to like also help them adjust. So basically like he keeps his women docile, but then also giving the new ones higher doses so that they're basically too out of it until they're, I guess, used to.
By the end of this book, this place burns.
It's gonna get worse before it gets better. But
I know.
Eddie better be the thorn in the Lion's paw.
Armpit, but yes. Okay, so driver, blah blah blah. They get back. Deborah is beside herself when she opens the door and sees Miles. She clings to Miles before sinking to the floor. Another woman appears from inside the house and grabs onto both of them and is like hugging them. The first thing Eddie notices is that this other woman is intensely pale, like she does not leave the house ever. The second thing he notices is that this woman has Miles' face. Like, he's like, oh, like, you're Miles' mother. But that's Miles' mother, like, very confused. Well,
she was beside herself, so she must be cloning herself.
Correct, yeah. So anyways, once Eddie and Flora leave, Eddie immediately asks how Miles has two mothers. Flora explains that Deborah is an uncut horsewoman. Eddie is confused, and he asks, like, how did that happen?
I understand now.
Right, because he's like, but first he's like, I've never heard of a woman cut so badly that they couldn't have kids. Secondly, her being uncut has nothing to do with two women having a baby together. So at this point, like, Flora should be picking up that Eddie is clueless, but Eddie goes, but how did it happen? And she goes, I wasn't in the room with them. I don't know. So she's like, I can't tell you how he was conceived, or how she was conceived. I wasn't there.
Ask him for a demonstration. I don't know.
Right. Right. So Eddie asks why the other mother was kept indoors. Flora tells Eddie that it's very risky because the paws can take any women that they find on site. And Flora says, I hope that they keep Miles inside from now on as well, saying that she feels it's too risky for any children that aren't boys to be outside. So again, another case in point where Eddie doesn't know a whole lot about the whole world, and he's just very unable to figure out who and what horsewomen are. So Eddie at this point gets mad at Flora for letting him trade for the little girl. So he's now like having like a crisis of conscience of like, I did a deal with a slaver, like I'm a horrible person, I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, fucking get over yourself.
Thank you. Basically telling Flora that she let Eddie trade drugs to the Lion, that the Lion will then turn around and use on the women. Flora tells Eddie that what has happened will always happen and will continue to happen whether or not he had done the trade, and that the drugs are at least going to make the woman's life a little bit easier. Telling Eddie that there wasn't a simple answer and there's not simple solutions type of thing. So the next morning, the whole city comes out to see them off as Eddie and Flora are leaving. They're regarded as heroes. Before they leave, 3 women with horse tattoos bring Flora ceramic pots that are sealed with wax. Since we all kind of know who Flora is at this point, what is in the pots is the urine of mares, like horses, female horses, that has been like steeped in fat, basically. So it's more or less like a hormonal salve that they like rub on their bodies. So
it just contains like so much estrogen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the opposite. I mean, it is the opposite of soy. I would have not expected that, so that is a surprise to me.
Yeah, so basically the horsewomen of the village have spared all that they could spare to give to Flora, knowing that she's about to be going on the road. So that was kind of their like donation to like helping her keep herself.
I like that that's the meaning of horsewomen, because not knowing that, in my mind I'm thinking it has something to do with the genitalia, or because they haven't like fully transitioned medically, or like they're...
Wait, is that why they call them horsewomen? Because of the estrogen
urine
concoction? Okay, that makes
Yeah.
more sense. I was like, why?
I thought it was like kind of a derogatory term, like they haven't fully transitioned, they're still a little masculine, so they have horse faces.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's not the case.
Yes.
I'm glad that the answer was urine.
I wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I just didn't understand why they were called that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense until...
I had theories that I was hoping wasn't the case. The title of the episode is I'm glad it was urine.
And
I just felt dumb.
And in other places, the boys who aren't horsewomen, but are still cut at an incredibly young age to keep them feminine, those are called catamites. So there's catamites and horsewomen. So catamites would be like a eunuch, and then a horsewoman would be...
I was going like castrati.
Yeah. But they would be... Horsewomen would be essentially a eunuch that then like fully went into transitioning. Sometimes they're cut, sometimes they're not. For the most part, it would appear that the majority of horsewomen are cut, which would also, I'm assuming, helping with the hormonal...
I'm assuming that Meg Elison did her research, because I feel like that is probably I know that particularly Native American indigenous tribes, that's what I'm going for,
like Two-Spirit.
Yes, so if there's someone who I don't know how far they went, if it to become the person that they were truly meant to be, that seems like something they would do, kind of like that thing of like using every part of the buffalo, but you know.
Yeah, using what resources you have.
Yeah, using mare urine, I would guess. Maybe I was thinking estrus, but I don't think that was actually part of the case, to achieve it.
Yeah,
that's that's a natural remedy. So that is cool. I like that. I'm also glad that they just got horse tattoos and not a whole brand.
Yes. Okay, so let's see.
The horseshoes are a bit much. They didn't need to make the women wear that.
There is a point where like a horse, so Flora comes up to Eddie with two horses, obviously.
Horses or horsewomen, just
horses. Like, so when Flora came and found Eddie when he was like out on the road, she was riding a horse with a secondary horse for him when she found him, and at one point wolves come in the night and eat one of the horses and the other one takes off, and Flora's like beside herself and she's like, I really hope that like she ran home. And then Eddie thinks to himself that he's seen herds of wild horses, and he wonders if they will accept the horse if the horse did not run home, or if the horses would see the shoes and know it was from captivity and reject it, type of thing. It was like a very interesting thought that he had, like, will the wild horses see her shoes and not want her because she was property at one point, which is also just like a fascinating thought for him to have. Okay, so
it's like that observation thing that there is clearly a gap in his knowledge about things, but he is very observant.
He's very observant, and he's very curious, like just generally wanting to know how things worked, which is drove him to want to be a raider because he was curious about the world and he was curious about maps. So like, yeah, he's very
time to open that mind.
He's very curious but closed-minded, but he's closed-minded for a reason. But anyway, so later Eddie tells Flora that they're not going to go to nowhere yet because he can't go back until he's saved someone. Flora asks if Miles doesn't count, which again launches them into the fight of right versus wrong.
Is that like Eddie's personal belief? Is it can't go back home until I've saved someone, or
Yeah. Yeah, just Eddie feels like he has to come back with something to prove, I don't know. That's just, which, like, I also get, like, why would I turn around and go back when there's someone out here I could be saving to take home? And if he drops what he's doing every time he finds a woman to take them back to nowhere, it would make sense for him to be like, well, it would be a waste of time for me to go back without having somebody. Because when I find somebody, I am going to have to turn around and immediately go back. So, like, I do kind of get what he's saying from just a practical aspect. But he's basically like, I didn't save Miles, I bought her. And, like, that was wrong of me to have done. So that doesn't count. Like, I didn't save her, I bought her. Which, again, the ends justify the means, my guy.
It's like how the Paws have like their list of must-haves, and theirs is just like a woman, a girl, like that's top of their list, and anything else is like incidental.
Correct. Yeah.
It's like how when we play games like that, our goal is weight limit. We can't travel anymore, so let's go home.
Yeah, our goal is to collect every fucking tin can that has ever existed. All right. So, anyways, they
some shade there.
Yes.
I accept it. I am a hoarder.
I collect all the tins too. Don't worry.
Ugh, you guys. All right, so anyways, they fight about the right versus wrong bullshit. Flora is very frustrated. She tells Eddie that there isn't a line with slavers on one side and heroes on the other. They're all just people living in the same world and trying to survive. Everyone is going to end up doing things that they don't want to do in order to survive. Eddie argues that some things are just black and white, and doing any business with slavers is wrong, even if it ends up saving someone, which again is fucking crazy because Eddie knows there wasn't any other way for him to rescue Miles, so he is arguing that leaving a baby in a harem was more ideal than him trading with a slaver to save her.
Limited worldview. Definitely a man.
Because she is just starting to walk. She can't even talk. Like, she is a very young baby. She's like 2 years old, maybe. So, like, really, the ideal solution was just to leave her there? Because also, again, you don't know that they're going to wait for her to mature before they fucking start doing stuff to her. You don't know that they haven't already done stuff to her. Like, are you serious? Be so fucking for real, my guy. So anyways, so
Probably get a letter there and said, you can keep that. Let me get more bullets instead.
right,
And then you wouldn't have to worry about the drugs.
correct.
I'm totally joking.
In his mind, he needs to hold the unnamed in very high standing, and he thinks to himself that, like, she saved women, but that's not what she did. Not 100% of the time did she save women. She did if she could, if it happened by happenstance. But her main goal was to make it so that women didn't have to die giving birth. That was, and for her to survive. Like, those were her two goals, period. And again, don't let perfection stand in the way of good is just very much a theme here. But Eddie just can't have a win. He saved a baby from unspeakable horrors, but it wasn't good enough for him. He didn't do it perfectly, and therefore it doesn't count. He tells Flora that things are black and white. And Eddie and Flora are quite literally shades of gray in the world that he wants to view as black and white, right? Because they aren't necessarily a man or a woman. They're like both, right? Like, there's not just men and there's not just women. There's like shades of gray in between, right? And so, like, they are actively shades of gray.
And like, anybody that says the world is black and white tells me that the world's not black and white, that you're black and white.
Correct.
And you're limited in your view thinking.
Correct.
Because what they did, they saved a baby. They might not view that, but what they did is technically gray.
Yeah. And again, Flora's like, and by you providing him with drugs, you ensure that those women had a very slightly more peaceful existence, right? Because if they're like too doped up to feel anything. They're not feeling scared. They're not feeling pain. If you hadn't given him those drugs, they could have run out, and then those women would have been fully living not only with withdrawal, but with the horrors of their existence. So, like, she's like, the things you traded also inherently helped those women, even if you couldn't walk out of there with all of them.
I'm like, unless you're going in there guns a blazing, at least you helped in a different way.
Correct. So, like, again, love Eddie to death. I see him, I feel him, I understand him, but, like, I so find him so incredibly frustrating. So Eddie just tells Flora that there are lines that he won't cross. Flora says, like, killing people, telling Eddie that that's a line some people will not cross. Eddie tells Flora that sometimes there's no other way than to kill somebody. Killing is just something you have to do. And Flora asks, what if there was no other choice but to work with slavers? Eddie says, there's always another choice. And she says, yeah, there's always another choice. Like, you feel like you have to kill people sometimes, but you can never work with slavers. It's like, if there's always another choice to work with slavers, there's always another choice but to kill somebody. You know, like, everybody has their own lines, and, like, you aren't right just because they're your lines. So Eddie is huffing off about this. He's feeling really frustrated. And tells Flora he wants to show her a secret place. So he's, like, really crabby, but he's like, I want to show you a secret place, and then we can go wherever you want to go.
I caught it with my foot, and I was so proud, but then my feet were cramping, and then I tried to pick it up, and I dropped it anyways.
Alright, so side note here, basically they go to sleep, and Etta is thinking back to when Mother Ina gifted her with the unnamed gun. Some important quotes that I pulled from this, not that that scene was super, super important, but some quotes. Ina says to Etta, I want you to have what you want, even if it's not what I would choose for you. But I want you to go after it with both hands, whatever it is, and leave something good behind after you. Life doesn't ever hold what you wish it would, but it holds things you can't even dream of yet because you haven't seen them. The unnamed saw the world change, but it didn't stop her from chasing what she wanted to have. At this, Etta thinks that the unnamed wanted to find Jack, wanted to save women from slavers, and wanted to be a hero. Considering that we too have read this book, that all of that's inaccurate. She hoped to find Jack, which I know I didn't touch on in the episode very much, but she had her partner Jack, and while she hoped to see him again one day, she knew that there was no way for her to ever truly find him, and that it was best and easier for her to just assume that he had died, because he had clearly left assuming she had died. So, like, not only does she not have a way of finding him, he left her because he thought she was basically as good as dead. So, like, he's not looking for her. She has no way to find him. While, yes, ideally she would have found him at some point, she knew that that wasn't realistic, so that was not a goal of hers. She didn't want to save women from slavers, and very frequently left them in captivity after doing trade with slavers. Her goal was to protect them from dying in childbirth, not to save them.
It feels like they watched the Hollywood version of Unnamed Story instead of reading the book that it's based on.
Right. And she never wanted to be a hero. She helped when she could. She helped when she had to. But her goal was just to survive. She just wanted to find somewhere where she could just live and fuck off. And
yeah, that literally.
And a lot of times she really even questioned if she cared to do that. Like, she's just like, what point is there to survive? Like, she did have some points where she was really battling with that. So, there were also multiple times that she just fully up and walked away when she could have done more to help, because she just didn't want to. Like, she's just like, this isn't my business, I'm just gonna leave. So the unnamed wanted to survive, and she wanted to help when she could. Eddie also later goes on to refer to Jody as the woman unnamed loved. And if we remember, she thought Jody was really hot, but she found her annoying as hell. She did not like Jody. Like, I don't know what book this man read, but, like, it was not the same one we read, obviously. It's just
read the fan fiction.
Right. It's giving when you are so far removed from a historical event that you just fully fucking lose the plot, you know? Like, you don't fully understand because it's just so far in the past that, like, the people who are sharing that history with you weren't even there to like know it and understand it themselves. It's like a game of historical telephone, I guess. But more quotes. The gun has been cleaned and oiled for a century, but never fired. There are bullets in this world, and you will find them. Ina then goes on to say, this is you. The gun is blank and empty. You can change the world forever depending on where you point it. You can leave behind terror or justice. You can be just as important as the unnamed or just as lost as the men she put down with this gun. And the reason that I left that in, other than Mother Ina like just is fully eating with like her quotes here, is that our main homie thinks that Ina wants to pressure them into being something, but this clearly shows that that's not true. Ina very much is like, I see you for who you are, and I know that the path I want you to have probably isn't the path you're going to want to have. So, like, let me kind of give you words of wisdom, and let me give you a gift that I think will be practical and that you can put to good use type of thing. So...
Stop controlling my life, Mom!
Right, exactly.
It's giving teenage boy.
Exactly. Thank you. But yeah, it's like, if Ina only wanted Etta to be a mother, Ina would not have given Etta a gun as, like, her moon gift type thing, you know? So, like, that's insane. But Etta / Eddie seems to want to punish themselves for not being what others want them to be. They've locked themselves in this black and white world where they can't truly do enough and have always isolated themselves from their family because they don't feel seen by them. It honestly feels to me that Ina sees Eddie more than they even like see and understand themselves.
I think I'm seeing some symbolism here.
Maybe. So Eddie is fishing for more Flora lore. Flora reveals that she can read, which shocks Eddie. He asks if a lot of people from Jeff City can read, and Flora reveals that the slaver actually taught her how to read because he liked to have bedtime stories. So he taught her how to read so she could read him to sleep. Which leads Eddie to ask why Flora didn't ever try to run from the slaver, and Eddie says that she didn't think she would make it, and again, he bought her when she was 5 years old, like about 5 years old, so she's like, how could a 5-year-old run off? Like, and by the time...
legs.
Right, but also by the time that I was maybe old enough to maybe survive, I had been with him for so long, like, that's all I ever, like, that's what I knew.
From reading, I found out that's a symptom of Stockholm Syndrome.
Right. Yeah, but...
The mental image I have is really cute. I'm not saying that reading bedtime stories to a slaver is cute. I'm saying the mental image of, like, the child reading the story...
to an old man.
Yes.
Like a 5-year-old reading.
And when you
Still
remove
bad.
the negative part of it, I'm like, oh, it's adorable.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, so Flora says she doesn't know how old she was, but she doesn't believe she was older than 5, remembering that she was incredibly small. Eddie... It's fucking just dumb ass out of pocket shit. Eddie asks Flora when her first period is, telling Flora that she can likely guesstimate her age based on that. Flora seems very confused why Eddie is asking this, and Eddie laughs at her and goes, well, if being a woman's so sacred, surely you had a coming of age that would have been celebrated. And like,
What does Flora see in Eddie?
And like, honey, she was kept by a fucking slaver. Do you think the slaver threw her a fucking moon party? Like, be so fucking for real right now. Like, honestly, like, this is crazy. But like, Flora is like so shook to her core by this conversation that she just stops responding to Eddie, and he's like, oh, she must have fallen asleep.
Yeah, that's a man right there.
Yep. So anyways, the next morning they're headed to this beautiful location. Eddie is hoping that he can reveal his true identity to Flora, and remembers the unnamed revealing herself to Jody and that not going over well. So Eddie thinks if he does it somewhere where it's going to be romantic, and because Flora already has feelings for him, that this is maybe going to go well, but he's also scared that it's not.
I've seen so many red flags with Eddie right now that Flora needs to run.
You're right. But you're about to get mad, so real buckle up here.
You know what? I'm out. I'm gonna write my own book.
Like, you're about to be so fucking...
That's so relevant right now.
Like, don't panic. Literally. So anyways, they get to a cave. He basically takes her down into this beautiful cave.
Romantic.
There's a pool there of water.
Ooh.
Eddie tells Flora something. He wants to be honest with her. He wants to share a secret with her. He clocks that she looks incredibly uncomfortable. So he like reaches out to touch her and she pushes his hand away. And he can see that she's like starting to cry and he's like, oh God, what is happening? But she encourages him to continue. She's like, tell me what you want to tell me. So he very nervously takes off his shirt and he begins to unbind himself. Once unbound, Etta goes on to explain that in nowhere two women can't live together, but she feels something for Flora and she's never felt this before. Etta thinks that she might be falling in love. Etta leans in and kisses Flora. Flora is very tense and she's trembling. Etta asks if she's frightened by being in the cave or if she's upset because of who Etta is. Let's see. Flora quickly shakes her head before pulling Etta back in and kissing her some more. Between kisses, Flora tells Etta that she doesn't know Flora well enough to love her, but Flora wants Etta to know her. Basically, like, you're not in love with me, you don't even know me, but I want you, you want me, I want us to get to know each other type of thing.
Practical.
We stan a queen, honestly. So, let's see.
Queen of the I was going to say horses. Queen of the horses, but I backed out.
Flora says Eddie while they're smooching, like she kind of moans Eddie's name, and then Eddie corrects her and says it's Etta, or you know what I'm saying. Anyways, so Etta asks if Flora has ever been with a woman before, while she's trying to work to get Flora out of her layers and layers of fabric. Flora starts stumbling over an answer. So Etta thinks that she sounds frightened, and so Etta is assuming that Flora is just nervous about being with a woman for the first time, perhaps. So Etta sees that Flora is like just fully crying right now. She's like into what's happening, but she's fully crying, and Etta is just very confused. And so she is taking it as like, oh, that's okay. I'll show her what to do. Like I want to do this with her. That's great. Like I'm so happy to teach her how to have sex with a woman. So Etta tells Flora that they can stop. She's like, if this isn't okay, we can stop. You don't have to do this. But Flora tells her not to stop. Once Etta finds her way to Flora's bare thigh, she runs her hand up Flora's thigh before stopping in confusion and then quickly being horrified. Etta very swiftly backs away from Flora, but Flora reaches out trying to like pull her back in, and she's like, wait, no, like, wait, don't be freaked out. And then Etta very quickly puts her shirt back on before asking Flora what she is. Flora tells Etta that she's a horsewoman, asking if Etta really doesn't know what that means. And it's like, Flora, baby, she just asked you about like your first period. Like, we very clearly know that she does not in fact know what a horsewoman is. And so Etta asks how Flora could do this to, like, how could you even do this? And Flora laughs and goes, I don't know, you tell me, Eddie. So Etta tells Flora that they're not the same. She's like, this is not the same thing. She does this, like, Etta does this for survival. And that she does it because her life depends on it. Etta gathers up her bindings and the torch that she brought down there, and she tells Flora that she needs to find her own way out of the cave. Flora's still sobbing, and she yells, a few moments ago you were in love with me, and now you're leaving me here. And so
Etta's dead to me.
Right.
Etta's dead to me. There's no redemption. I need you to know this.
Right. I should tell you at this point that Etta / Eddie has very much been having full-on panic attacks when interacting with men. So obviously Flora is not a man, but she has some male parts, which has very much signaled danger to Etta, which is partially driving this really big reaction. And Etta stops. She's having a panic attack. But then it occurs to her that she was very easily to just flip Flora over. So she's like, well, I can maybe stay and hear her out because I know that I can physically take her if I become in danger.
Now my feelings are a little bit changing, though, because I can understand the man panic.
Yes. Yeah. So
okay, I can't say I don't understand that because I truly
know.
do.
It's very frustrating, but it's
but I do understand them.
yeah.
It's not the same thing, but it's really reminded me of the radio show we would listen to, where twice a week you would get, oh yeah, related to the topic, I took the hottest chick you've ever seen home, and however they ended, oh, it was a dude, oh, she was twice as big as me, whatever. And it's like, I am absolutely sure that happened when so many trans women are like beaten or killed on such a frequent basis.
Right. And like, as much as I enjoyed that show, and they were very much products of their generation in that they were
like
clearly like open-minded and had nothing against trans people, but like they would horrifically continuously misgender them, and like I knew it's not because they just were fucking dumb as shit and just didn't know any better. But yeah, that was definitely a really big problem for me. Obviously,
again, not the same scenario, but
but yeah,
that's what it was giving. Just, I absolutely love you, you're like just the hottest thing ever, and 2 seconds later,
you have a penis. Oh no.
Fear will do that. So wait, does Flora have male genitalia, or has it been cut off?
She has a penis.
Okay, so
her testicles were cut off.
Oh, okay, so that's what it means. Okay.
Yeah, but she does have like a working penis. Like, because at one point she's like, it.
Oh yeah.
She goes, it stands, if that's what you're asking.
I love that, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
see, when you said cut, I know that for women that meant
yeah.
Clitoris.
Mutilation.
Yeah.
I assumed for men it was circumcision, and I don't know why I thought that was part of the horse girl-ification.
Yeah, no, it's the removing of testicles so that they're not getting the surge of testosterone. So
which makes sense to me, because my brain thought was like, if they were cut as men, the most logical thing would be eunuch style, where it's cutting off of the dick, but that doesn't really stop the.
Yeah, and that's why horsewomen can't have kids, and why Deborah was able to have children because she wasn't cut, meaning that.
I think that's why I thought that was because you specifically said like uncut, and I knew that's like a circumcision thing, so that it absolutely makes sense now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so Etta decides to hear Flora out.
That makes even more sense why Etta's afraid.
And
yeah,
we're going to get the exact backstory, but yeah. And like, I fucking hate what she went through, and I understand why she has all of these fucking walls up and all of these prejudices, very specifically against men and men who do bad things. They can never be good again. And like, yeah, it's not to like relate men to a dog, right? But like, if a dog bites you, you're going to be terrified around other dogs in the future, right? Like, if you're attacked, then you're going to have your guard up, right? You're going to just assume everything is an enemy because that keeps you safe. So anyways, Etta asks Flora how long she's been doing this. Flora asks Etta what she means, and Etta asks how long Flora has been pretending to be a woman. Flora tells her that she's not pretending. She's only ever been this. Etta is working on binding herself back up. Honestly, she's being so fucking problematic. Some of the shit she says to Flora is so out of pocket. She asks Flora for her real name. Flora tells her that is her real name. It was given to her when she had nothing. Flora says she was sold as a girl. She was bought as a girl. She was taught what to do and how to be a girl. Flora hated what she had to do and what she was taught to do. She hated being sold, but she's always known she was a girl, and that she always knew she loved other girls. She knew she wasn't like the other like children she was having to be around and interact with. Like, she just always knew that this is what she was. That really resonates with Eddie, but he wants to hold on to his anger. So he is softening, but he's like, no, like, I've been tricked. Like, I'm mad. But also, in Eddie's mind, being a woman is danger. Like, that is dangerous for you to be, and you are choosing to put yourself in danger. So that is also, like, just mind-boggling for Eddie. Like, you were born with a gift of safety, and you were actively choosing not to have that. just in Eddie's mind.
And this takes place in the future and not present day.
Yeah. So anyways, Flora compares herself to the silkworms. She was born one thing, but then she was able to become something else. This again resonates with Eddie. Eddie pictures himself being bound to a chair, enclosing himself in a cocoon of metal and transforming. Eddie says, so you're broken. You're not anything. Also, like, baby, the call is coming from inside the house. The trauma is really just flying off the rails here. So at this point, Flora screams, and the audiobook is so good. I know I say this about so many books, but like, honestly, this part just, I remember listening to this in my car and just like tearing up. But Flora screams, I'm Flora. I'm as much something as you are, Eddie. Are you broken? Are you nothing? Eddie again tells Flora that he does this to stay alive, and Flora says, I do too. She goes on to tell Eddie that her doing this makes it possible for the other women in Jeff City to feel safe. The Lion's Men know that there's horsewomen there, and so they don't go through and just round up women. She is doing this to survive because she needs to do this and be this to be alive, but also she is keeping other people safe by doing this. So she tells Eddie that she doesn't care if Eddie doesn't want her anymore, but that if Eddie cared for her even a little bit, he would want to get to know her. Flora says that she's overjoyed to see who Eddie is. She's so happy he shared this with her, but it doesn't make sense for him not to give her kind of the same sort of kindness. He begins to feel ashamed. Flora is
Fucking good.
Yeah, Flora's fully sobbing until she curls up into a ball on her side. After a while, Eddie scoots over and he's behind her. She asks to be if he would hold her. He holds her and they sleep. When they leave, Flora asks Eddie if he wants her to leave, and he says no. She tells him that if they're going to travel together, then they have to trust each other, meaning no more secrets. She then asks if she should keep calling him Eddie, and he very quickly tells her on the road he's only Eddie. They have a convo about returning to nowhere. Flora tells him that she would really love to read the books of the unnamed. They fight about him having to save someone first. He then tells her that he can't take her to nowhere because they would see right through her. She tells him that he didn't see right through her. They end up agreeing that they're going to return to nowhere. Flora is crying, and she tells Eddie that he doesn't need to tell them who she is, or who he thinks she is. Fast forward, they get back to nowhere. Flora very quickly offers silk to anyone who is willing to house and feed her. Alice, the drug maker, very excitedly says, hell yeah, let's go. She and Etta, again, they have a friends with benefits type thing. Etta is incredibly jealous, like, Flora works quick, I guess, type of thing. Like, Etta just very clocks that there's going to be something between the two, and he is in fact right, or she is in fact right to guess that that's going to happen.
So Flora and Alice get together.
Yes.
Yes, because Eddie don't deserve Flora! Sorry.
It's okay. You're not wrong.
So
You're
many
not wrong.
fucking feelings.
You're not wrong. And Etta is going to do just one more horrible thing to Flora before the day is done. And by the day, I mean the book. Anyways, so after getting cleaned up, Etta goes to sleep. She has a dream about the chair. In this dream, we're really going to start to kind of get the lore here, but in Etta's dream, the stirrups weren't rusty enough to break. So she is trapped and she's struggling to free herself. She wakes up, she's tangled in her bed, she's struggling to catch her breath, she can't breathe, her muscles are fully locked up. She falls out of bed onto the floor.
More potassium.
Yep. She's struggling to relax her legs. Ina rushes in after hearing her fall from the floor, helps her get her legs flexed out, gets her back in bed, scolds her for the potassium. And she basically says, every time you come back, you have nightmares and leg cramps. Like, what is happening? Ina also notes that this has happened ever since the time Etta didn't return until the winter. At first, Etta thinks that she's having her weaknesses poked at, but then she realizes that this is coming from a place of love and help.
Um, men need more potassium than women, so it's possible that they're not getting enough out there.
So, in the morning, Etta goes to the council to fill them in on the Lion of SDL. While explaining the situation, she explains that he holds a harem, he's heavily guarded, etc., etc. A council member sends a runner out of the room, so like a young boy is in with the council, and someone pulls him over, whispers to him, and he leaves. Etta assumes that maybe he's been sent for tea or something, but when he returns, he has Alice and Flora with him. The council tells Etta that Flora and Alice had come to see them yesterday with a similar explanation of the lion. The council asks Flora if her city is loyal to the lion. Flora confirms that they pay tribute to him. They then ask Flora if the lion is a slaver, and she says he keeps a harem, but he doesn't sell women. Etta quickly jumps in, arguing that the women are not free to leave, stating that being held in slavery isn't any better than being sold. The council fully agrees with Etta, because obviously Etta is correct on that. However, Flora continues to tell them that the lion is heavily armed. He has thousands of men, and he has people making knives and bullets basically around the clock. Flora goes on to say that she can't confirm how the women are being treated, but they weren't malnourished and they did not seem to have injuries that she could see. Etta tries to argue, but the council tells her that she's trying to raise an army for an unnecessary mission that is doomed to fail. Alice jumps in, saying that if the lion is willing to take trade for the women, that they would be able to save them without any violence. We obviously know how Etta feels about this, and honestly, realistically, Nowhere has no business trading and actively trying to find this as a solution for saving women anyways. Etta pleads that if they trade for women, that means that they see women as a commodity, which will make them no better than the lion himself. Honestly, it's a fair point, especially in this case because he wants opium and his men are taking any woman that they see. So, like, he will consistently have an endless supply. It's not like they are going to be able to actively save every single woman in SDL.
In this case, the only way to stop it is to kill them all, in my own opinion.
Yes, that is correct. So let's see. All right. Etta also pleads that the pause will eventually find Nowhere, and that once that happens, everything will be lost. Basically, all the women will be taken. Nowhere will not exist anymore. Basically, like, we need to get ahead of this because even if we trade with him, eventually he will find us and he will destroy us. Even if that's not necessarily what he is seeking. He's going to take all the women. He's going to take Alice as a drug maker. Like, there isn't really a good... We're not going to have a happy outcome if we allow him to continue.
Right. All the women, you're going to start living underground. You're going to be the mole people.
Right. Come with me. We're becoming mole people. She finishes by telling them that they need to get ahead of the threat, and that this is what the unnamed would have done. At this point, Etta gets a very firm reality check regarding her reading comprehension. She's told, the unnamed left women behind all her life. She gave them drugs and she hoped for the best. She only killed when she absolutely had to, and what you're doing isn't what she would have done. It's what a man would do. So they tell Etta that being on the road has made it difficult for her to think like a rational woman, and that it was likely best for Etta to stay home for a while. As Etta storms out of the meeting, a council member calls after her saying that she could always become a midwife, and when she's ready, like, basically you can be a midwife when you're actually ready to do what the unnamed wanted to do, type of thing. So bits that I cut out for time here. Etta begins the Book of Etta. The only line that she's able to write is Etta was born in the chair. She then becomes completely overwhelmed with panic, and she's not able to continue writing the Book of Etta. And then there's an argument between Etta, Alice, and Flora regarding the lion. Basically, Alice is like, let me help you. Like, we can save this woman peacefully. Let me assist you with doing that. And Etta is like, that's not ever going to be a solution that's going to like stick and work. The next day, Eddie leaves nowhere, determined to walk all the way to San Francisco. He wants to learn what the unnamed learned. While on the road, Eddie returns to his journal. Eddie writes that the unnamed was able to change like he did and like Flora did. He intends to go where she did. He writes that Etta is a liar. He is now Eddie, son of the road. Etta had lied about scavenging all over. In reality, she only scavenged to SDL and back. Etta says that she's killed men, but Eddie's the one that has killed. Finishing with, I wasn't born in the chair. I was born when Etta was born. I have always been with her. Back in nowhere, Alice and Flora decide that they are going to go ahead and trade with the lion. First, Alice asks to like Flora to help her disguise as a man, but Flora's like, you are way too feminine. That is absolutely not going to work. And then
you cannot hide those puppies.
Right. They do decide that they are going to disguise Alice as a horsewoman, though. So they get set up, they pack up a bunch of opium, and they set out. When they are taken to see the lion, Alice first noticed that his tiger is very clearly sniffing at her. The lion then asks Alice to come closer. When she does, he grabs her by the wrist and pulls her in and says, my cats can smell what you are, and so can I. He then looks at Flora and says, I don't normally keep your kind, but I think you'll probably be useful. They will never return to nowhere. Cut for time. Eddie comes across the dual town. He first visits the men, and then he sets out pretending like he's going to leave. He doubles back, undoes his like Eddie gear, enters the female town as Etta just to kind of see what they're all about. However, while she's there, in the night, the paws overrun the town. All of the women are taken. Eddie does manage to get out. He does get injured and he collapses into the river. When he wakes, he's in a boat. But when Eddie is coming to in the boat, he begins to have flashbacks of the chair. He hears the lion's men laughing. Eddie thinks that had the unnamed been there, she would have seen Etta for the child that she was, and she would have done something to save Etta. Etta is in the clinic. She returned to it her second year, hoping to bring back more goods for the women. She is hiding in the closet when the men find her. The men put her in the rusty chair, and they bound her legs to the stirrups. One of the stirrups eventually breaks, the jagged edge going through a man's neck. She was covered in blood, and so she was able to pull her other leg free. She was able to grab a gun and kill the other men. Eddie walked out of the clinic, naked and bloody as a newborn. Etta didn't remember the summer turning into winter. She didn't remember what happened. She didn't remember the pain that she endured that winter. And she did not remember walking back to nowhere through the snow, leaving a trail of blood behind her. She later began to understand what had happened to her, though she didn't remember why or how. She learned to count her breath, and she learned to become Eddie. So obviously we can understand what happened to Etta. Etta did get pregnant, and she did have a miscarriage before returning back to nowhere. So that is sort of the full complexity of what fully happened.
My heart is softened towards Eddie, but still angry.
Yeah. So like we get it, but like also someone needs a hug. So when Eddie fully comes to, the boat capsizes. He notices that he's rushing towards a waterfall. He is thrown into a rock, cracking his ribs before he goes over the waterfall, hitting his head at the bottom. Eddie wakes on the riverbank. 2 hands are smashing into his ribs. Eddie tries to go back to sleep, but water comes rushing out of his stomach and his lungs. He struggles to breathe before going unconscious again. When Etta wakes, she is in a dry, warm place. She's dressed in a long nightgown. The room is filled with old world furniture, which is in excellent condition. Across the room is a dresser. All of her gear's been laid out. The Book of the Unnamed and her journal have both been carefully dried, though they do have water damage. And then her clothes had all been laid out. They've been washed. Any tears have been mended. The door opens and a man enters. He has a wash basin and rags. He sets the wash basin down and he tells Etta that she's safe. He's happy to see that she's awake because they were beginning to worry that she wasn't going to wake. The man tells Etta that she is in Adam on the Amen. He tells Etta that they are east of the Missouri River, and that they are north of the Ozarks. We are going to come to learn that Amen is basically District 13 flavored. It's fully buried and hidden underground. They are equipped with solar power. They have underground farms with vents directly above them to let light in. And they have compostable toilets. Like, they're fully thriving.
The more people. Yeah.
Yes. So, and the people of nowhere will become mole people. So Etta asks how far north of the Ozarks they are. The man tells him that the missionaries would know better where they're located. And that basically, like, I'll take you to go talk to the missionaries and they can definitely help you pinpoint where exactly we are. But the Ozarks, I'm assuming, is the Ozarks, and obviously the Missouri River is the Missouri River.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why Ozarks, and my best guess is, like, literacy is low, so maybe they're not familiar with Z being, like, the last letter and kind of being so rare. Similar to, like, you'd have Y everywhere, and X would be kind of rare to see as well. But that's utter guess.
Yeah. Also, Etta and the people of nowhere call the Ozarks the Black Mountains. So I'm not super familiar with the Ozarks.
It could
so
just
I'm
be
not.
Ozarks. If that's what you're going for, that would make sense as well.
Yeah. And that's more or less how it's spelled. Anyways, so. But if we recall, the unnamed also had a run-in with the missionaries. It would appear that the Mormon future is female. They are being led by Mother Alma. Alma is incredibly pregnant. She tells Etta that she dreamed of her arrival. Etta introduces herself as Etta. She asks if she can leave. She's told that she's not being held there, but that she is not, very clearly still not in the greatest of health. She has broken and bruised ribs. She had a traumatic head injury. So basically, like, you can leave, but we really don't think that this is the best for you to leave. Let's see. She's not in the best health. Alma tells Etta that she was born free and she will live free, before telling her that every sister is made in the image of the Heavenly Mother. Therefore, Etta is God herself. Alma tells Etta that they are happy to give her a new pack. Her pack was completely shredded, but they'll give her everything she needs if she wants to leave. But Alma promises that if Etta stays, she will have more blessings. Etta explores. She finds out that there are currently a dozen babies, and there are 229 people with 78 women and girls. They tell Etta that no one has died in childbirth since they received the prophet Alma. Basically, the women she's talking to are like, some of our mothers died in childbirth, but nobody of our generation has. So they're like fully thriving. Later, Alma goes into labor. She has 3 girls. She very happily announces that she hasn't had triplets since she was 20. Etta asks how many babies Alma has. And with these 3, she has had 13 in total.
I think she's a god too.
For the most part, all of them have been twins. So she always has multiple babies, basically, is what it is. So after the birth, Alma tells Etta that she knows what Etta must do and that this will be the only time that Alma is powerful enough to make Etta ready. She tells Etta that she has been prepared by her mothers and that Etta is ready for the terrible battle to commence. Alma tells Etta that she must now teach her mothers and lead them. Alma places her hand on Etta's leg. Etta feels a burst of pain in her calf before all the tension in her muscles is fully released and dissipated. The next morning, Etta wakes up. She has 0 leg cramps, and she will not have another, like, muscle spasm again.
Is Alma actually magical?
Right.
Like, for real, though, is she actually magical in this book? Because damn.
Don't know that we ever get a clear answer, but clearly there's, like, something's going on, right? So, yeah, we don't necessarily know one way or another. Etta, okay, let's see. So the next morning, Etta is taken to Alma. Alma asks how she's feeling before telling Etta that she must lead their mish into battle. Etta asks what battle Alma's talking about. Alma says that it isn't for her to know, it's only for her to deliver the calling. Once the Mish party has been assembled, they get on an elevator, which is lifted, like, man-powered, so, like, 2 men are up at the top pulling people up. But they get on the elevator, they are raised up to the surface. Etta comes to learn that the Mish has been having run-ins with the Lion, and they are here to rescue some women that have been taken. The Mish take Eddie to their armory, and they are fully fucking packing heat. It is also an underground armory. Neither the city nor the armory have any traces once you are on the surface, so, like, you would never even know that it's there. And then, let's see, they take him to the armory. Eddie very much has heart eyes once they get down into the armory and he sees everything. He then shows them his gun, the unnamed gun, and asks if they have bullets, and they pack him up with, like, dozens of boxes. Basically, they have more bullets for that gun than Eddie could ever even possibly need. The fellas all take a nap. They wake up near dark. The Mish send out their 2 youngest scouts with the goal of finding where the paws are and where they have been centralized. The other 2 scouts are to find where the women are located. Love this. Armed with info, the Mish come up with a plan. They decide that they're going to essentially infiltrate through the windows and they're just gonna fucking shoot up everybody. Basically, they're like, we know that the women are going to be chained, so they're not going to be able to get up and move. And normally when we start shooting, people tend to duck. So basically go in and light up the place, because chances are very minimal that we're going to hit any of the women, as long as we're, like, firing basically, like, level where people are standing, because the women probably can't stand anyways. So at this point, Eddie shows them that he has a paw, and he says, I can go get them to open the door, and I can let you guys in. Basically, like, we don't necessarily have to just, like, jump in through the windows and start shooting. Like, there's maybe a better way for us to get through this. Everyone very much side-eyes him. He tries to play it off like he just grabbed the paw off of a dead man, but they're like, they never leave their dead behind, and people only receive a paw if they've traded for women. So basically, Eddie's like,
what up?
Eddie's like, it was a baby that I was taking back to her mother. Basically, that's the gist of it. But they're all just kind of like, all right, we'll go with your plan. That's a good plan, but, like, also, we're hella side-eyeing you right now. So basically the mission goes off flawlessly. Eddie makes his way in. He opens the back door. Within seconds, they have, like, just fully mutilated the men. Like, they've shot so many bullets that they're in pieces, basically. So they find 8 women. They take them back to Alman. While there, Alma hails Etta as a hero, naming one of her daughters after Etta. Etta thinks to herself, wondering if this is what happened with the unnamed, because Alma is basically like, Etta is a miracle. She donned the, like, disguise of an enemy and, like, did all, like, basically the entire mission is hailed as Etta had completed it, and Etta is being spoken about so highly that even the men who were, like, side-eyeing her are, like, very apologetic of, like, no, she's right, you are, like, a blessed hero, like, we shouldn't have thought weird about you. And Etta is basically like, none of this is true. I'm just a person who just did a thing and it happened to work. So she's, like, starting to be like, is this, like, what happened with the unnamed? Like, did we all just, like, idealize her into something that she wasn't? Which, yeah, babe. So let's see. Okay. Eddie decides that he's going to hit the road. He thinks to himself that he doesn't know if Etta or Eddie is the ghost, but regardless, both of them are going to go back to nowhere. From there, Eddie intends to return to SDL because even a lion will die if Eddie shoots it enough. So Eddie decides that once he returns to Nowhere, he's going to tell his mother who he is, like his true name, and he's going to live as Eddie. And his plan is basically to ask him and like Alice and Flora to live with him. He's like, we can maybe set up our own type of hive type of thing. So he's very much like, I am Eddie. This is who I've always been. This is who I'm meant to be. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna basically live authentically. As he's approaching, though, he can smell that something's wrong even before he can see Nowhere. As he crests the hill and approaches the gates, he sees that the gates are fully open and that there is ashes blowing in the wind. Eddie frantically searches for the entrance to their hidden escape tunnels because they did have a tunnel system to get out of Nowhere.
Mole people.
Exactly. Searching amongst the burning buildings, he is able to find the entrance. He does find survivors. They tell him that the Lion's men came, that they took all the women and children. They fully emptied out Alice's stash. They fully took everything in her garden, and that the men very immediately knew what they were looking for and they knew where it was. They fill Eddie in that Alice and Flora had gone missing like weeks before this happened, so they're like, we think that they were taken and that's how the men knew where to find us and they knew what to get and where to get it. Basically most of the men were killed. Very few survived. So Eddie wonders to himself if this would have ever even happened had he brought Flora home. Like, had I not brought her home, her and Alice couldn't have fucked off to the lion. Like, we wouldn't have been found type of thing. Like, is this my fault because Flora allowed this to happen basically just by her actions? So let's see. Okay. Eddie coaxes the survivors out of the tunnels, taking them to Omen, with the plan of gathering up another mish and going over to SDL to get the women back. Upon returning to Omen, Eddie requests a mish, explaining what had happened to his home. The mish tell him we can only go where the prophet sends us, and so she needs to call us to go do this if we're going to do it at all. Eddie goes to see Alma. He tells her that he needs a mish. She tells him that isn't what he needs at all. What he really needs is to stay in Omen. Alma tells Eddie that she gave his mission to Etta and now he must fulfill Etta's destiny. Etta's destiny is to be the mother of warriors. Eddie obviously declines. Alma laughs and says, when we tell Mother God no, she sends a whale to swallow you. She goes on to tell Eddie that he will go on to fight the lion. He will go in blazing and righteous, and he'll fight like Samson. But they won't cut Eddie's hair, they'll let it grow. And with that, the warriors will come. The next day, Eddie sets off. Before he leaves, though, Alma stops him. And she says, what I said is going to happen, and it would be much better if you stayed here and became the mother of warriors for Omen than you go and be the mother of warriors for the lion. Eddie makes his way to SDL anyways. He shoots his way in to the Lion's Hotel. Once he's in there, he does start to have his like full-on panic, but our king is doing his breathing exercises and he's making it through. He approaches a set of double doors, and which then burst open and the lion and the tiger come charging out at him. He manages to down the lion and only lands one shot in the tiger. The tiger lands on top of him, sinking its claws into his arm. He is able to fight his other gun out, and get a couple shots in, and then the tiger just fully collapses on top of him. He's trying to struggle out from under the tiger, but he's choking on the tiger's fur. He blacks out. As he sinks into darkness, he hears his mother's voice. Etta was in and out of consciousness. She's dazed with fever. She knew that Flora and Alice had been tending to her, and while she heard her mother, she never saw her mother. Etta thinks to herself that this is because Ina would have likely killed Etta had she come near her in order to save her from what was to come. Once the fever fully breaks, Flora gives Etta a drink. When Etta wakes up again, she's in a different room. It's full of very ornate old world furniture. On the third day of being in this room, Flora brings a silk nightgown. She gives Etta a sponge bath. Flora comes in to bathe Etta for several days after. Etta begs Flora to help her escape before she eventually begs Flora to kill her. The lion comes to see Etta. He tells her that she has two choices. She's going to be valuable to him by answering his questions, or she's going to be valuable to him in the way that other women are. He asks where the guns are. Basically, like, you have all of these beautiful old world guns and you have all of these like perfect old world bullets. I need you to tell me where you got them. Let's see. Etta, very love her. She says, I give birth to guns and I bleed bullets. My destiny is to kill men like you. Etta spends a lot of time outside of her body. Eddie sits with her. He tells her that they're not going to die, that they're too useful to kill. Etta tells Eddie that she doesn't want to die. Eddie wants to leave, so they decide that that's what they're going to do. When
I need to pause real quick. So, in this in and out, is it because they're fighting infection? Or is it because they are brutalizing them in between?
At this point, Etta's being brutalized.
Okay.
Prior to that, prior to being moved to this room, she was just recovering from the infection. Once she was strong enough, she was basically moved into his private chambers. Okay. And so that is, yeah, she's having a lot of out-of-body experiences, probably because I'm sure she is being drugged to some extent with the opium, and also just because she's not going through very good things. So let's see.
And this is why I let you tell me books, because I'm already so uncomfortable.
I know. Okay, so... Right. When Flora comes to clean Etta and tend to her wounds, Etta notices that Flora is very aggressively making eye contact and like searching her eyes. Eddie tells Etta that Flora can see what they've been planning. Etta says that she hopes so. She wants Flora to be ready when the time comes. 2 nights later, the time comes. Etta is able to slide her bony wrist out of her restraints. Etta silently grabs a gun. She tucks it under the sheets and presses the barrel to the base of the lion's spine. She pulls the trigger, and the gun is empty. The lion very calmly says, "Your breathing always changes when you wake up." So he wasn't asleep. He knew that she was awake, and he knew that she was up to something. She then fumbles herself out of bed. The lion just gets up, circles the bed, stands over Etta. He's crushing her into the ground, leaning on her chest. She can't breathe. He tells her that she's wasting his time and she's no longer an amusing waste of time. He tells her that she can answer his question and go sleep in the harem, or he'll let her take her last breath now. Etta thinks to herself that he smells like a predator. Flora once asked her if she wanted to be the hunter or the hunted. Etta wants neither. She wants to be something else entirely. Etta asks to see the map. Etta thinks to herself that she might be able to come up with a plan if she's sent to the harem. She can strategize with the others. As she's leaning over the map, ready to show him how to get to Amen, Eddie tells her not to. He says there's too many girls and women in Amen, and that they need to die before that they let this happen to all of those ladies. But then Etta feels something under her left hand. She's trying to figure out what it is. Once she realizes what it is, her voice is growing stronger as she's talking to the lion. Eddie is readying himself to strike. Pointing with their right hand, they slowly raise their left hand. The lion reaches out to point to where there's a bullet marked on the map, basically like, oh, is this a bullet? Is this where it is? Eddie picks up the arrowhead and thrusts it into the lion's armpit. The lion stumbles backward. Eddie shoves him back and runs for the gun. The lion is struggling to get the arrowhead out of his body. Etta is fishing around the floor, trying to find stray bullets. The lion makes his way to the door before slipping in his own blood. Etta finds the bullets. Eddie loads the gun. Eddie stands. Etta takes aim. Eddie fires. The bullet takes the lion's nose before carving a path through the center of his face. Etta reloads the gun, and she runs. Naked and covered in blood, Eddie makes his way to the harem, effortlessly shoots the guard in the throat. There are about 30 women inside. Ina covers Etta with a robe as Etta takes aim at Flora. She fires just as Ina grabs her elbow and moves her hand, making the shot miss. She then tells Etta that they can't, they need Flora. The women make their way to the armory. They load up with guns. Etta finds the unnamed gun. Once all the women are armed, they make their way out to where all the vehicles are kept. None of them know how to drive except Flora, and Ina said, "Told you." So they get into a car. Once they're in the car and they're making their way downtown, Alice asks Etta why she shot at Flora. Etta replies that Flora cared for her so that she could be kept. Alice explains that Flora was the only one who would care for Etta because everyone else was too afraid. Alice explains that Flora took the worst of the abuse from the Paws because they knew that they didn't need to be careful with her because she couldn't give birth. Etta gets up and makes her way towards the driver's side. She crouches down behind the seat. She looks at Flora and says, "I'm not going to apologize to you, but I'm also not going to try to shoot you again." She tells Flora that she understands now. She understands that you have to do things to survive. With that, Etta stands up and places his hand on Flora's shoulder as Flora lets out a sob. Eddie tells Flora how to get back to Amen and tells them that they are headed towards their destiny. The end.
Did Eddie have to ruin the ruin the end of that? Like, holy! I at least thought, like, Eddie was gonna be like, Flora has man parts and that's why they need to die. But I'm like,
yeah.
Flora's the only one that learned.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Flora and Alice.
Yes. Yeah, then the third book is my favorite of the series by a lot. They also, like, just kind of cover a lot of ground. Like, they go all the way to Florida and just they end up on an island, and it's really good. And it has like 2 timelines. So it's like Flora immediately after the Book of Etta, and then it's also like Flora and Alice as they're like basically elderly women. So that's really cool.
Oh my god, they grow old together!
It is very, very cool. And as I was like reading the Book of Flora, like, it did something so rare for me where, like, while I was in one timeline, I wasn't wishing I was in the other timeline, you know? Like, sometimes when there's a lot of POVs, you're like, ugh, you're boring. I wish I knew what...
It's like, I need to get back to the main action.
Yeah, and I didn't feel that way at all. Like, I hated every time it switched from one timeline to the other because I'm like, no, I need to know what else is going to happen. But also, as I was rapidly approaching the end of the book, I'm like, so much has to happen. There's so many questions I need answered. Like, how is this almost the end? But it was perfect. It was amazing. I loved it. So good. Also, we love Flora. We get to see a lot more of, like, the country, which is really cool. We also, again, just get to see, like, more sort of odd beliefs. Like, the men of Florida don't think that women exist, period. Because
they shouldn't.
They've never seen a woman give birth, and therefore that's not real. And anyone who tells you that they're a biological woman is lying, type of thing. So it's very interesting. But there's also the 2 raiders who trained Etta. They went out on, like, a mission, and they just haven't been back, and no one knows what happened to them. So that's kind of part of why they travel so much, is because Eddie is just like, well, while we're just out here just doing things, let's go see if we can find them.
Eddie in the third?
Yeah, Eddie's definitely like a mainstay.
Does Eddie get better?
It's hard to say.
I will say I understand Eddie. I don't like Eddie.
Yeah, he's still like the same stubborn, like, strong-willed, like, my way is the right way type of person. But he definitely, his mind is a little bit more opened. And where Eddie ends up leaving, I think, is actually kind of perfect for him. So, like,
okay,
we, like, in like a happy ending sort of way. Not like a, but it's cool. I really like it. And the big bad of the Book of Flora is just so wild. There's just like an army just slowly up, like the future timeline is there's like an army slowly approaching the city. And there's like tales that they are dragging like an old world plane behind them, and no city that they've come up against has been able to survive because of like all of their old world machinery that they have. And it's just really, really cool. I liked it so much.
I'm excited.
Me too. Yeah, I was like, I can do both of them in one day. And then we had just such great conversations with this one. It was like, even if I had both scripts ready, we wouldn't have been able to do both.
No, I probably would have declined fully and honestly.
You would have been like, absolutely no, please.
Absolutely not today.
Yeah, also, I am starving, so.
I am so hungry and eepy.
But yeah.
But no, that's good.
So, they remain Eddie in Flora.
Yeah, the sort of end scene where
Eddie.
they were like bouncing between Eddie and Etta was kind of them like integrating both of them, and it's like neither of
I did
these...
like that.
Yeah.
I like that because there are parts of the same person that needed each other in that moment.
Yeah, and a lot of there's also like a lot of themes of like they are weighed down by ghosts, and there's one point where they go up to Alma and ask, like, can you, like, cure me of all the ghosts I'm dragging around, basically? And Alma says, I don't know which ghost is the real one. Like, I can't do that because there's so many, and you don't even know who you are. I can't do that for you. So then that's when it's like, okay, well, is Etta the ghost or is Eddie the ghost? And the answer is neither. Like, both are you. Both are you at different points in time. And so the end was sort of them integrating and becoming Eddie.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate too with the whole Eddie thing. It's like I said, I understand Eddie. I fully understand why the prejudices happen.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish Eddie saw how hurtful they were being.
Yeah.
As a person who was also hurt.
Yeah.
And the ignorance of that drives me wild.
Yeah,
But I'm a person who thinks about people's shoes, like being in people's shoes all of the time.
Eddie is so frustrating, and it's like I can't say that I hate him because like I
don't
get
hate
it.
him.
I get why he is the way that he is, and it's totally fair that he is that way. But it's so frustrating. And I heard this like quote that's like, just because you're wounded doesn't mean you get to bleed on everyone else type of thing. So like, hurt people, but like also.
Yeah, it's the growing part or being the mature part is understanding not to hurt other people because you're afraid or like you're hurting.
Yeah, just because you had to have claws in the past doesn't mean that you have to use them on others, you know?
This is one of the few times where you can't just say get therapy.
That's true.
Yeah, no, that's
true.
This is definitely one of those situations where you just can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but he has his like breathing exercises, and whenever he would start to like have flashbacks, he would just go, where are you right now? You're safe. And then like just breathing. And
to also positive, so proud that he decided to go in there guns a-blazing, but got caught for it. Yes.
Yeah.
Understands why people might trade instead of hopefully understands why people might trade instead of going against an entire massive force.
Yeah, but he did fully topple SDL. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Pop off king.
Absolutely.
Proud.
Yes. There's also like when Etta is like in and out of consciousness through the fever, she begins to smell a tiger, and then the lion comes in with a tiger, and he's like, you didn't really think I just had one, did you? And so while she's like recovering from her like infection, he just keeps bringing the tiger in just to like stare at her with his tiger. And then at the end, they kill the man who like is caring for the rest of the big cats, and then someone's like, we should set them free, and Etta's like, let them starve. And then they
fair
just leave.
though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no.
They're like still wild animals. That doesn't mean they're gonna go roam.
It is like a Shiva situation where the original lion of SDL was a zookeeper, and then he just kept breeding the cats that he had. So like obviously they're hella inbred, but you know, but also Shiva would never.
Go, Katie.
We love her.
Yeah, especially like at the end, it was described, or no, it was told almost like they're going through I would say DID because just the two personalities, the two
integrating.
Yes. I'm more familiar with that, like as a trauma response, like protecting yourself. I'm sure it's not like full DID, but that's like something that happened. They created this other personality to help deal with the trauma and block out parts of their life that they do not want to remember. And I thought that was I thought it was cool because I'm sure a lot of people like trans or gender fluid go through that, like whether it's trauma or not, they have these two or more parts of themselves they are trying to reckon with.
Yeah. From some of the people that I know have transitioned, it's like constantly denying a part of yourself and fighting a part of yourself until you accept yourself. Yeah. And it's sad that society has just made it so uncomfortable.
And especially when they're in a situation where they're doing it for survival.
Yeah, it's protection.
Yeah, like that. Again, I said, is this in the future or present day? People like denying themselves because they're not in a situation where they can just truly be themselves.
Right.
But also I was kind of seeing this situation more as like gender fluid. Obviously they, I would assume officially identify as a man in the next one.
Yes.
But I'm going with gender fluid currently because that is the artist I chose for my send out song. There was one more thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely consider it to be like gender fluid, or as mentioned, it's more like a gender evolution type of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, just gender sexuality is fluid, so they don't officially identify, but they are presenting as one identity that doesn't quite have a name. They change and evolve, identify as a different identity that doesn't have a name. So, which is like, you're allowed to do that.
And they first think that Eddie was born from the chair. They think that Eddie was born as a survival mechanism of like, okay, well, this is how the unnamed survived and how the unnamed stayed safe, and I idolize her, I want to be like her, so this is what I'm going to do as well. But then when they really sat with it, they're like, Eddie's always been there. And like there was like this whole thing of them remembering their like first sort of like moon party thing. I don't know if they call it a moon party in this, but I know that like there are like that's a thing that happens to the youngins nowadays. But anyways, or I could be full of shit, I don't know. But they just remember being really uncomfortable with that whole thing, because once you essentially get your first blood, you're taken to the House of Mothers. They like feed you like lots of red foods, and they all tell you stories from like their first time or like them becoming mothers. So it's like a very communal, like women supporting women type thing. And then they give you shrooms.
I kind of love that, because I'm gonna be honest, when I got my period for the first time growing up, it was very much like, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry this is happening.
Well, so I also didn't even realize, the first time I got a period, I didn't realize that was what it was, just because also PCOS girly, it wasn't the way that you would normally. So like I was having my period for like multiple years until I had like my first major one like freshman year of high school, and that one fucking took me out. It was crazy. But yeah.
I remember I was like 10 or 11 when I got my first one.
Yeah, I know I was in middle school. I think I might have gotten it 6th grade or between like 6th and 7th grade.
God, oh, sorry, tangent. We can cut this out, but I remember being in like, I was still in elementary school, like, well, what we consider to be elementary middle school. And it was like 5th grade or something, 4th, 5th grade. And I had gotten my period already, and I remember the girls lecturing me about how, like, you should always wear a pad because, like, we just took our sex ed class, and they were telling us that you started during athletic activities. And I'm over here like, that's incorrect. Like, I mean, that's not incorrect. Like, it's incorrect. Actually, it just is incorrect. Like, you don't get it from athletic activities. And me being as, like, I was already having my period at that time.
Yeah.
Because of PCOS girly, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
crazy. What it is to be a woman.
Ain't great, tell you that. I mean, it is, but, like...
Oh, yeah. I would not want to change
just
me
the
for a
rage.
minute. Yeah.
Just the inherent internal rage that you just constantly feel all the time. Especially when you're a girl's girl.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Nick? What you got going on over there?
Oh, I was trying to find out what the city Omen used to be, and I couldn't find like a direct.
So it is pronounced Amen, like Amen.
Like A-M-E-N.
Yeah. It's like O-M-M-U-N. But yeah, it's like the prayer type of Amen. But looking at it, my brain doesn't want to pronounce it that way, but that's how the audiobook did pronounce it. So I'm thinking that I don't necessarily know what real world place it would be. Obviously it's east of the Missouri. And then I know they were near or around Kansas City.
Is it Omaha?
I mean,
is that even a place? Wait, what?
Omaha, Nebraska, yeah.
Oh, shit, you're right.
Nick,
Oh.
where's Omaha?
Nebraska. Oh, like
I mean, you did just
In
give-
relation to the...
Oh!
Yeah,
find that out, and then I'm gonna tell you to send us out, because I hungry.
I'm so hungry.
Hungry and dominoes. You still want to play dominoes?
Hell yeah, I want to play
Okay.
dominoes, girl.
400 miles away,
Okay, but is it east?
west of St. Louis. But I didn't find any like cities like that. But also it's part of the word community,
Okay.
so it could just be renamed like it plays into the just theory that I had. Is it actually like underground?
Mhm.
Okay. They truly feel safe underground, so they don't feel stress, alleviating one major source of miscarriages. It may also represent elites or high society, since they have intact old world furniture and are able to safely birth multiples. It could also just be like how people who have a sense of community are happier, live longer, as opposed to all these individual settlements that, I mean, they have 200 in Amen, as opposed to these little settlements that are like just struggling and under threats almost daily.
And I know obviously there's a lot of issues with religion, but I do know that generally speaking, people who have a very strong belief system like that tend to obviously when it's used correctly tend to be just happier, and community is obviously so important. And generally speaking, they are sort of the only like community that's thriving and doesn't want anything. Because when Etta is first there, she's basically like, okay, but what do you want from me in order to like medicate, feed, and house me? And they're like, we don't want anything. Like, this is what we do. Like, you were hurt and you needed help, and we're helping you. Like, that's what we do. You can stay, you can leave. We don't care. This is what we do. So they are definitely a sect of just the Mormons. And they still keep up sort of that like Mormon mission of going out and finding people and bringing them back. It's not obviously as, and then they also are kind of like a hive type of thing. So once Alma has her 3 babies and she does like the naming ceremony, she's like, and this is the dad, so if you want babies, he's got good seed. Like,
oh my god, that's great.
Yeah,
oh
so,
my god, I already stand Alma.
Yeah, you know, she's a little kooky.
That's, I mean, honestly, if I think she's magical, so magical little kook.
There is a thing where so 2 weird things that I didn't necessarily mention. She has brown eyes when Etta first meets her, but then after giving birth, she has like bright green eyes, and Etta's like, wait a minute, didn't you have brown eyes? And then Alma gives Etta a blessing, and like, so she has Etta like kneel, and then she's like says a prayer over her, and then she squirts her in the face with her titty milk. And Etta's like, like, what just happened?
Okay,
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
Okay, now I have a new theory. Alma actually died in birth, but multiples are more likely to have multiples in the next generation. So the green-eyed Alma is her sister. So she was able to give birth safely. She did not, or she's recovering elsewhere. I don't know, man. I don't know how the green one squirted milk.
The green one squirted. I love you, Nick, but where are you going with this?
He doesn't know.
I'm coming. Oh, I'm trying to come. This is besides like the virus, which is not out of the realm of possibility. This is very grounded in reality. And then something kind of magical happening is very strange. So I'm just trying to
Justify it.
Play skeptic. Try to bring some kind of logic to the conversation. I think I've said before that I am kind of an idiot.
No, he's not an idiot.
I'm saying I'm not learned. I'm not learned in the science field. So I just what I know of pop culture and basic science is what I'm like coming up with.
Yeah.
Like I just know random stuff.
Yeah.
So
Same.
Yeah, I'm trying to come up with some kind of not solution.
Explanation.
Answer, reasoning. Having not read the book, having.
Can you imagine that though? If there's just two of them just lurking around. Yeah. I mean, they both could have had children taking turns.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But...
being what are they called? Like wet nurses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know.
Yeah.
But let's see. Okay, so eyes changing color, being able to like actually prophesize, right? Because
she's right.
She
both
was
sides,
like,
yeah.
But then also she called Eddie before Eddie even told her that she was Eddie. So
oh shit.
Yeah, so when
magic.
Eddie goes over to Alma to say like, "Hey, I need another mish. We gotta go do a thing." She without ever says, "I gave Etta your mission. I need Eddie to fulfill Etta's mission, like Etta's destiny." And then she's like, or they're like, I didn't ever tell you." And then there were also instances where Alma responded to something that Etta thought.
Okay, yeah, she's magical. I'd be terrified.
I got no other explanation. I was just trying to come up with some kind of theory.
Plus, when
But that's just a theory.
Yeah, when Etta is fully out of her fever, and she's being like bathed and changed into the silk nightgown, she sees herself in the mirror and realizes she must have been out for a really long time because her hair has grown a lot. Like,
which that's why I'm like, she prophesized her hair was going to grow.
Yeah.
Become a warrior.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know that we really get an answer as to what is happening. We do, obviously, that's where they're going right now, is Amen, and they are going to be there, before our trio decides that they're gonna leave. But yeah, so we will see more of that, but I don't think that we ever get an answer as to what the fuck is going on with that. It's just a little spooky woo-woo moment, I guess. But yeah.
All right, Nick, send us out.
Yeah, that was the end of my theories and yapping and rambling. All right. Again, gender fluid musical artist.
Love that.
Oh, won't you yap with me? Happy PRIDE.
Yeah.
Be who you want to be. Oh, won't you yap with me?
Woo!
Let's go.
Bye.
Bye!